Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. It is Memorial Day 2012, the ultimate day of remembrance for this nation. A day not only for having fun and barbecues, but for remembering those who gave their lives in service to our freedom. Memorial Day at the ballpark is also a special event as we celebrate here at Citi Field this afternoon. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field, and a happy Memorial Day to you. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling alongside as the Mets open a three-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets just concluded a week where they played two of the lower teams in the National League. They won 5 of 7 from the Pirates and the Padres, but the schedule changes in a hurry now. 8 straight series against winning teams.
Well, you know something, to start with, you've got to beat up on the second division teams, and the Mets did do that. Now the level of competition picks up. You got the Phillies in for 3, Cardinals coming behind for 4. Even the interleague play now in June, they've got 3 teams in the American League: Baltimore, the Yankees, and Tampa Bay on the road. There's not going to be any cakewalks for them, so it's a big test for this ball club. But you know, it all evens out in the course of the season. Everybody's going to play who they're going to play, and that's why you play 162.
Everybody in the National League East right now is above 500. The Phillies are on the bottom right now. It's a team that's relying on their pitching, and they got potentially bad news yesterday when Roy Halladay had to leave his start with shoulder problems. But they're being led this year by Cole Hamels, who pitches today.
Well, he's having an amazing year. I mean, this is a guy that was a World Series MVP in 2008, but he has come full circle, really. He is at the best he's ever been. After losing his first start this season, he's 7-0 and ERA under 2. He is at the prime of his career.
And he'll be matched up today against John Neese, who 2 starts back in Toronto had the worst start of his career, but bounced back very nicely against Pittsburgh.
I thought his start against Pittsburgh was his best start all season. Didn't use his curveball as much, but was very aggressive in the strike zone. Hopefully you'll see that today.
So the battle of the young left-handers, Cole Hamels and John Neese on Memorial Day 2012 at Citi Field in New York. It's the Mets and Phillies, all the action coming your way today right here on SNY. By Cholula Hot Sauce, the flavorful hot sauce with the iconic wooden cap. By AT&T, rethink possible. By Parts Authority, Auto Parts Superstores, where the answer is always yes. And by the all-new Mazda CX-5 with 35 highway miles per gallon. Send your Mets to the 2012 MLB All-Star Game in Kansas City. Vote up to 25 times by logging on to Mets.com or LosMets.com and cast your ballot for the 2012 All-Stars now. Vote early, vote often, vote Mets at Mets.com. Here's your Mazda upcoming schedule. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. As we detailed in the opening, today the start of a 25-game stretch against teams that right now have winning records. 3 with the Phillies and 4 with the Cardinals to complete this homestand before the Mets head to Washington, the Bronx, and St. Petersburg for their next 3 series out of this homestand. John Neese making his way in for the bullpen, ready to make his 10th start of the year. Fans coming in to Citi Field for the start of Mets and Phillies first pitch coming up. By Joseph Acaba, and it landed all the way down here on terra firma at Citi Field. There's your forward starting lineup for the Phillies today. Carlos Ruiz, a late scratch with a hamstring issue, and that moves Shane Victorino into the cleanup spot, where Ruiz, who's the hottest hitter for the Phils, has been batting lately, and it moves Brian Schneider into the starting lineup for the Phillies, who are right in the middle of the pack in the National League in runs scored. John Neese in an unfamiliar place. He has not made a start here at Citi Field since April.
Well, you can see his stats there. The innings pitched shows you that he's averaging about a little over 5 innings per start. He wants to definitely increase that, and you can see the batting averages against, just ruling the left-handers.
Terry Collins, Charlie Manuel, set to do battle. Mets have played the Phillies 6 times this year and won 5 of 6. All of that in Philadelphia. First time the Phillies have come to New York this year.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Metropolitan defense. Well, the 7 straight home games without an error. Rottino's out in left field today. Of course, the Andres Torres' wife having a baby, and he'd get this. It'd be his 5th start of the year, his 2nd in left field. Davis is in the lineup again.
Sam Perlazzo, the coach at first, former Met third base coach. Juan Samuel, former Met center fielder, third base coach for the Phils.
It's like Sam Palazzo's doing his Davy Lopes invitation there. This guy looks like Davy Lopes.
You know, it's interesting, Keith. You mentioned Hariston in center, Rottino in left. This is probably the only pitcher in the Mets rotation that you could take a chance with those guys out there. Well, especially Hariston in center. John Neese gives up a lot of ground balls.
So Jimmy Rollins will lead things off for the Phillies. Rollins has really struggled this year, hitting just .225 with a .284 on base percentage. And Neese's first pitch on this Memorial Day is in for a strike.
Well, one thing for certain with Rollins, he always seems to get up for the Mets and has always been a thorn in their side.
He had a good series against the Mets early this year in Philadelphia. And Neese tries that backdoor cutter that was so effective for him in Pittsburgh in his last start. A ball and a strike to Rollins with Placido Polanco and Hunter Pence to follow for the Phillies in the opening inning. Phillies had won 4 in a row until yesterday when they lost to the Cardinals, and Adam Wainwright lofted down the right field line, and it lands just foul as Neese throws an early curveball after throwing just a half dozen of them in his last start.
Well, you know, there was a lot of talk about making sure that Jonathan did his homework in between starts to make sure he knew his game plan going in. Looks like we're going to see more curveballs than the Pittsburgh start.
Ronnie, you ever change game plans radically from start to start just to keep the opposition off balance?
Not off balance, but because of the team and the personnel they had, you'd have to change. You'd face a team that you were not going to get many fastballs by him.
But now with the advent of all the video scouting, when teams can look at your last start and see what you did, do you think there's more incentive to change it up?
I think there's incentive to change it up, but the bottom line is you've got to have confidence in what you have, and you've got to think as a pitcher, major league player, that your stuff is better than theirs. Your good stuff is better than theirs.
2-2 now to Rollins.
You don't have that. Oh, boy.
Well, the Mets pitching staff is working on an incredible stretch of 26 consecutive scoreless innings, all of that against San Diego. Haven't given up a run since the first inning Friday night, and Rollins goes down swinging on the high fastball, and he strikes out the first man he faces. Up the ladder.
Well, this was the toughest decision that the Phillies had this winter, whether to sign Jimmy Rollins to a multi-year contract. They did, not paying dividends yet.
Gave him a 3-year deal, about $35 million. So Neese fans the first man to face him after Dickey struck out 10 yesterday. The Met pitching staff is 4th in the National League in strikeouts. Here's a tough man to strike out, Placido Polanco, and that's pretty unusual for a staff that does not really have a very hard thrower among their starters. But they've been racking up strikeout numbers in large quantity.
I mean, if you heard that number and thought of the Philadelphia Phillies, no problem. But when you have a guy like R.A. Dickey who strikes out 29 people over 3 starts, your numbers jump up.
He's behind on Polanco, who's been a hot hitter. Last time we saw Polanco, he was struggling, but the last 26 games hitting .327 and being more Polankish over the last few weeks, as what the Mets have done the last 3 days against the Padres. 26 strikeouts in 23 1/3 innings from those 3 starters.
I think the most important start was Dylan G. Ronnie, he really threw. I thought he threw tremendous. 2 games back to back for him. Won the big game, of course, on that road trip to save the Mets from being swept in Toronto, and he came back and had a nice start here.
Neese already has a win and a no decision against the Phillies this year. He was great the first time in Philadelphia. 2-2, and Polanco just got a piece to stay in there. That first start Neese threw on the 14th of April, 6 2/3 scoreless innings. The next time he was not nearly as sharp, walked 4 in 5 innings and wound up with a no decision. Here's Dylan G, who's going to pitch Wednesday against Cliff Lee in the series finale here. And Polanco takes the curveball in the dirt, 3-2.
It's interesting. Jonathan Neese on that pitch dropped down a little bit, changed the tilt on that curveball. Didn't make it as big. It was a little smaller, like a slurve.
I think that can be very dangerous, a lefty to a right-hand hitter.
I agree.
It can just be a helicopter and stay flat.
With Hunter Pence on deck, the 3-2 to Polanco. In on the ground, Murphy to his right. Can't make the backhand play cleanly, and Polanco is aboard. Well, Murphy's been doing such a nice job at second base. Couldn't make this play.
I think a little indecision. I think he's playing so much on the outfield grass. He might have got a little concerned with the lip, and he had ideas that he can get in front of it, and then he just couldn't, realized he couldn't, and had to stay with the backhand, and there's the result.
You know, the problem happens, sorry, Gary, when you play that deep, is that you start to worry about time.
Yep.
If you're going to get the ball over there, so sometimes you quicken a little bit.
And my feeling is the infields are so wonderful here. There's no bad hops on the dirt. I mean, you can play in the outfield for the slow runners as Neese drops a curve over there. But I tell you what, the infield today, this Citi Field infield is just impeccable.
Error charge to Murphy, his 6th of the year, and the first in 5 games for the Mets, and their first in their last 8 home games. So that's how good the fielding has been lately. Hunter Pence sitting at 263, 11 home runs. That ties him for 4th in the National League. Shane Victorino hitting cleanup today on deck, but Pence has struggled this year against lefties. He's hitting just 200 against left-handed pitching, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Said that he has been trying to pull lefties in the first third of this season. They've been working real hard with him trying to go the other way. He's been pitched away mostly by the left-handed starters.
Had a game-winning home run the other night in St. Louis that he went the opposite field on. 2-2 to Pence, who is really the big gun in this lineup, along with Carlos Ruiz in the absence of Ryan Howard.
Yep.
And Chase Utley.
Well, it just really shakes things up for the Phillies. They're just trying to tread water, and with those 2 big guns out of the line, that's your 3 and 4 hitters.
Well, Utley said yesterday that he's making progress, but it's slow progress. Swing and a miss, and Neese goes upstairs to get Pence. So each of his 2 strikeouts in this inning have been on high fastball.
Well, they got Pence last series in Philadelphia upstairs, and you know, really, he's a free swinger. You don't have to throw him a strike. He is such an aggressive hitter.
So now Shane Victorino, who today for the first time in his major league career is batting cleanup. He has hit in every other position of the batting order except 9th. He was supposed to hit 5th today with Carlos Ruiz hitting 4th, but Ruiz a late scratch with a slight hamstring strain, and so Victorino moved up in the lineup.
Well, this is the ball club that took 3 out of 4 from St. Louis. If they won yesterday, that would have been the first time they had a 4-game sweep against the Cardinals since 1913.
Victorino pops one up, and that'll come out of play.
Victorino with the 6 home runs, 4 from the right side of the plate against left-handers. If you recall, Gary, last time we played the Phils, he had 5 home runs and 4 were from the right side of the plate. So his power it's been cut off. He's back to normal. He's really a line drive hitter. He's not a home run hitter.
He's an occasional power kind of guy. Of course, power gets accentuated a little bit playing your home games in Philadelphia. Here's the 0-2, and it's taken high. It's been a start and stop offensive year for the Phillies this year, much as it was last year, and you see how much better he has swung the bat right-handed than left this year. One-two from Neese, and the curveball bounced to third. David Wright will go the short way, and a bad throw. Heading for third now is Polanco as Murphy runs it down. So 2 errors in the inning, a routine play, and David Wright just made a bad throw.
Well, his fundamentals on the throw, watch him throw underhanded, almost like Ted Abernathy, a submarine. And that ball runs into the line. You want to come and throw it like a quarterback, right? Like a catcher, right over on the ear, and throw it over the top so you throw a dart to your second baseman. Your second baseman's coming in for the force out, and particularly on a double play where he's got to turn it. You don't want to throw a sinker to him. You want to give him a true straight arrow.
4th error of the year for Wright, so 2 errors in the inning for New York, and now Neese has to work that much harder to get through it as he takes on Ty Wigginton with runners at 1st and 3rd. Wigginton hitting at .238, and he takes a curveball down. So Neese has already thrown as many curveballs in this first inning as he threw in his entire start in Pittsburgh last Wednesday. Wigginton, a very aggressive hitter, and you don't want to throw him first pitch fastball. Two 2-0 to Wigginton.
You know, when I look at Jonathan Nice, you mentioned it, Gary, throwing all these curveballs. I know that in the first start that you said he pitched so well in, his curveball was used early and often. Very successful. So I think he's trying to use that same game plan here. A lot of times you can change your game plan depending on what you're throwing in the bullpen. You have a feel for something. But he certainly used it in his first start against the Phillies.
And now he's behind on Wigginton 3-0 with John Mayberry on deck. Well, Rob Johnson is catching these for the second straight start, so it's not a matter of a catcher going to a different game plan. This is strictly what he has decided to come into the day with. Wigginton will swing 3-0, but he takes this one outside, and now the bases are loaded. So 2 errors and a walk fill the bases in the opening inning for Philadelphia, and an early moment of truth for John Nice upcoming, as he'll take on John Mayberry, and before he does, Dan Warrington will have a conversation with him.
Well, Mayberry's been struggling from the right side of from the period. He has not had a very good season. Had a kind of a breakout year last year, but boy, he hasn't been able to capitalize on it this year. He has struggled from the get-go.
He does have 2 home runs in his career against Nice in 19 career at-bats, but he's hit only 1 home run this year in 117 at-bats. See that on-base percentage very low at .272.
He gets very crouched in his stance. He really bends over at the waist.
Saying he kind of ties himself up?
Yeah, he was successful with it. I'm sure it's the way he's played. Let's see. Watch him bend over. He really bends over at the waist.
So an inning for John Nice in which he should have been long since in the dugout, and all of a sudden he can't find the strike zone. 5 straight. 4 to Wigginton, and now the first one to Mayberry. Polanco at 30 reached on an error. Victorino at second, he reached on an error, and Wigginton at first, he walked.
I'll tell you what, right here, he's got to throw a strike. This is not a time to be taken. Looking fastball.
And he gets a fastball, hits it out to left. Playable for Rotino, and Vinny makes the grab, and Nice works his way out of trouble, not his own creation. Phillies lead them loaded. Mets come to bat against Hamels with no score. That have made their way to the ballpark on this Memorial Day. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. Justin Turner hits leadoff for the first time in his major league career, with Andres Torres away, with his wife having given birth this morning. Our congratulations to the Torreses, and a left-hander on the mound. That's the way Terry Collins opts to go with his lineup today against Cole Hamels, who's off to a tremendous start. So here's Turner in an unaccustomed spot, and he takes a strike.
When we saw Jonathan Neese's numbers, I said the innings and games started came out a little over 5, almost 7 innings per start for Cole Hamels. Phillies are 111 and 78 in his career.
Well, third straight start for Justin. He's been swinging the bat good in the last 2 starts. 4 for 7, hitting the ball hard.
And playing shortstop again today. Ronnie Cedeno has a little strain in his calf. Could play today, may play as early as tomorrow. Ruben Tejada is still at least a week away from returning, and so Turner, the next option at short. If the Mets needed another shortstop right now, it would probably be David Wright.
Tejada hasn't completed the half-moon schedule of the rehab.
Out to left field, Mayberry chasing it and runs it down for the first out.
And we'll take a quick look at your Coors Light Philadelphia Philly defense. They played outstanding D. Ty Wigginton has been playing predominantly at first base. Of his 32 starts, 21 have been at first base.
Here's Daniel Murphy. For a long time, Murphy and Wright were carrying this team. Both have cooled down now, and yet the Mets have continued to win as they've gotten production from other people. Murphy just 3 for his last 29, leaving him at 298 for the year. Did drive in the Mets' first run yesterday.
Hit the ball hard twice yesterday. Only got 1 hit. I thought he made some strides forward. Dan's the type of hitter that is not going to stay in a slump very long. And he's a short swinger. He hasn't got a home run this year. He's a line drive hitter.
Hamels using that curveball. The ball to strike. Mets have had a lot of success over the years against Cole Hamels. Not the first time they faced him this year, though. He lit up the K gun. He struck out 10 in 7 innings in that start on April 15th. Beat the Mets 8-2. But he's 4-10 lifetime against the Mets. 1-5 in Flushing. He was 0-1 at Shea Stadium and 1-4 here at Citi Field.
And of course, this is a option year for him. He's a free agent next year if he's not signed. There'll be a lot of interest in this young man, particularly with the season he's started out with.
A lot of talk about him going to the West Coast, where he is from.
Right.
Grew up in San Diego. The Dodgers would certainly crave him. Jams Murphy, and Murph pops it up to shallow center. Long run for Victorino in to make the grab. So Victorino's had kind of an indifferent year in center field, and that led to some words with one of his starters the other night that makes this play.
I kind of inquired on the Philadelphia Phillies about what went on in that little altercation with Cliff Lee and Victorino, and Victorino lost that ball clearly in the dusk, in the high sky of dusk in St. Louis, and it's been a very tight ship over there in that clubhouse. And no one knows exactly what went on. It's what goes on in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse.
David Wright pops one up. Tough play for anybody along the line. Here comes Galvis, but he can't get there as he slides into that low wall, and it goes foul. Galvis about as fast as anybody, but couldn't quite get there in time. Well, I think, as an outsider looking in, that it had as much to do with the fact that Cliff Lee is awfully frustrated right now with a winless Ledger as anything else.
Yeah, that's part of it, and I think that happens more than you think, guys, where a pitcher and an outfielder will definitely have a back and forth about how, whether the pitcher thought he hustled enough, all those kind of things.
You mean a Scott Olson, Miguel Cabrera moment?
Listen, Straw and I, he might not admit it, we had some words occasionally. It just happens. It just happens to heat a battle. But you're right. 0-2 with a 2.82.
Well, Keith and I were having a conversation yesterday about wins and losses, and the fact that they're not as valued by some as they used to be, but that they're still valued by pitchers as much as they ever were. 2-2 now to Wright.
There isn't a starting pitcher in baseball who doesn't start the season saying, this is my chance to win 20.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Precisely.
And then you get about halfway and you readjust.
2-2 now to David, and he hits one out to left center field. Easy play from Mayberry drifting over. And so 3 fly balls generated by Hamels in that opening inning, and the Mets are out 1-2-3. No score after 1. The entire world in an aerial view of Central Park. The reservoir doesn't look nearly as big as it does when you're running around it, right?
I used to run up and down that park.
Taking pictures on the shaved ridge.
Sandy would like that. United States Marine Corps.
Semper Fi. Freddie Galvis leads off in the second inning after John Neese worked out of trouble not his own making in the first. Galvis has been a godsend for the Phillies. He's hitting just .244, but after a slow start, he has had as many big hits as anybody on this Phillies team the last 3-4 weeks.
Well, over his last 18 games, hitting .314 with 15 runs batted in.
Here's Chase Utley, for whom Galvis has been filling in admirably. His defense has been impeccable. He takes that curve for a strike.
Well, you remember when he was hitting on the interstate earlier in the year, Gary, that they were clamoring for him to be benched or sent down, and Charlie Manuel stuck with him. Said, I have faith in that kid.
Strikes out on the cutter away, and he has his third strikeout.
Well, has him reaching for that fastball that stays on the outside corner. You know, the game plan, if you're an offensive team, has got to be middle of the plate in from Jonathan Neese, and he's not given a lot of that to the Philadelphia Phillies so far.
Here's Brian Schneider, who was inserted into the lineup today when Ruiz was scratched. 13th game that Schneider started this year, the former Met. And so far this year, Brian has swung the bat better than he has in some time.
He got off to an 0-for-8 start, and he's hitting over .300, so he's turned it on.
There's Chooch, who's never been on an all-star team and probably is headed there for the first time this year. 33 years old, and he's had to work awfully hard to get to this point, but he just keeps getting better and better.
He does.
He's always been considered a great defensive catcher, a real leader for the Phils. Murph has to charge coming from the outfield grass, and he gets Schneider by a stride for the second out. But Ruiz has become a better and better hitter. I mean, there was a time when he was a pretty good clutch hitter, but now he's been maybe the best hitter the Phillies have had.
The thing about Ruiz is that he is just a tough-minded individual, and you know, he really is kind of the de facto captain of that team when you think about it.
2 out and nobody on now. Hamels, who can swing the bat pretty well, 4 for 19 this year, a couple of RBIs, hitting at .211, and backing away from that curveball, 1-1. Now 27 consecutive scoreless innings now for the Mets staff after Neese wriggled out of trouble in the first. Jimmy Rollins would be next. Hamels waiting for the big contract, facing Neese, who just got a 5-year contract extension before the season.
Hamels is looking for a little bigger contract. There's Roy Halladay.
And Halladay's supposed to see the doctor tomorrow to get a handle on just how much damage has been done to his shoulder, which he came out of the game with the Cardinals last night experienced soreness with. And he said it was just a one-start thing. I guess his pitching coach Rick Doobie said something a little bit more alarming. Doobie said it had been going on for 3 or 4 starts. But certainly if there's anything substantially wrong with Halladay, that has a big impact on the Phillies going forward. Hamels strikes out. That's 4 in the first 2 innings for John Neese. On Memorial Day, Mets come up at the bottom of the second with no score. Helicopter is out there taking some unbelievable shots today, huh? Central Park and now the Empire State Building on a sleeping Memorial Day in the big town. Get to Citi Field as the series with the Phillies continues tomorrow night at 7:10. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Scott Hariston leads off in the home second inning in a scoreless game. Hariston hitting cleanup today and playing center field. He's got very good career numbers against Hamels. 3 home runs and a .391 average in 23 at-bats against him. And Scott's got some stuff to live up to as far as the family competition is concerned today. Remember earlier this season Scott hit for the cycle in Colorado, became the first Hariston ever to hit for the cycle. Well, last night his brother Jerry got 5 hits, the first Hariston ever to get 5 hits in a game. So your turn, Scott.
What was great about Jerry in the post-game interview that he gave to the television station, they asked him what he thought of his day. He said, tongue-in-cheek, well, you know, I think that I've been undervalued. I just don't think people understand what kind of third-place hitter I could be. You know, they finally put some people in front of me who get on base, and I can drive them in, and I just finally, redemption. And it was just hilarious because Jerry, of course, known for his defense, his grittiness, get on base, versatility as opposed to his 5 for 5.
Scott goes down on strikes. Good changeup by Hamels to get him. That's his first strikeout. Well, you know, the Dodgers are doing it very much the way the Mets are. You look at their lineup on an everyday basis and say, really? You know, You just don't see a lot of big names there, especially with Matt Kemp out of the lineup, and yet they keep winning.
Well, they're 21-5 at home, so they can't lose there. And, you know, Ethier's up there with the RBI, and they're getting great pitching. Capuano, another win.
That's an amazing story right there. Chris Capuano. Here's Lucas Duda flying one down the left field line. Mayberry over to the sidewall, but that'll go out of play. Capuano got a 2-year deal from the Dodgers, $10 million for 2 years. The Mets did not want to give him a second year and let him walk. And all Capuano's done so far is go 7-1 with a 2.14 ERA. Those are the NL pitchers who've won 7. Gio Gonzalez got his 7th last night by beating the Braves. Harry Dickey got his 7th.
Heck of a slot machine right there, right?
Fastball strike to Duda, 0-2. Lucas hitless in his last 8 at bats. He's at 255 for the year. There's R.A., who was brilliant again yesterday. Strike 3 call. Got him with a changeup. So back-to-back strikeouts for Hamels to start the second. Inside pitch on Cole Hamels brought to you by Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
You know, there's a lot of left-handers in this Mets lineup, so it's going to be interesting. Most of the teams that go up against Cole Hamels, it's primarily a right-handed lineup, so he's going to have to use his breaking ball more today.
That's with 4 left-handed bats if you include John Neese. Here's Vinny Rotino playing left field today. Vinny takes a strike. When last we saw Rotino on Saturday, he was hitting his first big league home run.
Let's see the inside pitch. Cutter complements that changeup. He's got the best cutter right now the last couple of years. And fierce competitor with maturity. I thought early in his career he's always been a great competitor, but you could see him stomp around behind the mound. All business now. And of course he's going to have the ability to buy a nice home soon, if he doesn't have one already.
Rotino hits it out to left. A lot of work early in this game from Mayberry, and he makes the grab to end the inning. So Hamels has set down the first 6, and we head for the third with the Mets and Phillies scoreless at Citi Field. Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. That is just outstanding. Perfect for a nice hot summer day.
That's funny. Oh, it's our best shot.
What will we do next? Here's Jimmy Rollins, who struck out his first time up, and he takes a cutter for a strike. He struck out 4 first time through the batting order. Is not allowed to hit. And Rollins fouls it off, and it's 0-2. Rollins, Polanco, and Pence at the top of the Phillies batting order. Phillies start the day a game over 500, but in last place. A real rarity to see an entire division composed of teams over 500. And the curveball bounced foul. The streak at 28 now, longest in the majors this year. Earlier this year, Texas and Toronto each had 23 inning streaks without allowing a run. And that cutter got right into the hands of Rollins, and it's 0-2.
You know, when I look at the Phillies record, I look at it differently. They're one game over 500, and that doesn't sound good. But the rest of the league hasn't buried them. And when they get their players back, if they get their players back, we know what they can do.
5 strikeouts now for Nice against Rollins for the second time.
All upstairs. Pounded him in and went up the strike zone. Got him the first time that way, too.
Well, you can see why the Phillies are struggling offensively, because these are pitches that in the past we've seen them not swing at and take and work the count and work a walk here and there.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Polanco, who hit a ground ball to Murphy's right that Daniel couldn't come up with on the backhand for an error. That's made 2 errors in that first inning, but Nice was able to wriggle out of the jam.
It's a good looking bat that Polanco has. The two-tone. What are those cookies that Kerry brings? That's the color, right? The black.
You don't choke up on the cookie, though. Change up from Nice, 2-1. Hunter Pence waiting on deck. Polanco has battled all sorts of minor injury woes the last year and a half. Punches 1 foul. He's had groin issues and hand issues, not major stuff, but the kind of stuff that worries you as a player gets to the later years in his career. And frankly, you look around this Philadelphia team, and that's a general concern. The age on this team, and having Halladay potentially be on the shelf at age 35 is a concern as well. You'd have to think.
Well, all of a sudden the Phillies are getting older, and you know, you cannot keep a team together forever. Time marches on. Stops for no one.
Yeah, and I also think that 35 is the 35 it used to be. That's when your career starts to wobble a bit.
Well, it can start wobbling a little earlier too.
Well, that's why I think it's imperative that the Phillies try and find a way to keep Cole Hamels, because you can't allow your team to age around you and let a young star like Hamels walk away. He's 28.
Well, it would be a serious changing of the guard.
Fly ball right field, and Duda back a couple of strides to grab it. 2 out.
I mean, you've got the Nationals that got a ton of young talent. They're on the rise. That made a lot of great moves in the offseason. You got the Marlins that made some moves. I'm a little bit skeptical about them, but they still got a lot of talent down there. It's whether they put it together or not.
Braves have young pitching and a lot of talent there, and you know, the Mets have young pitching on the rise. Well, the Phillies have done it 5 years in a row. The question is, can they hang on another year? Hunter Pence takes the curveball for ball 1. Pence struck out his first time up. And he pops this one up. Davis coming over. His place near the railing, but it's on the dugout roof, and he had already lost it in the sun at that point. Well, those are the standings up to the minute. Mets now alone in second place, with the Marlins losing last night.
So no one's jumped in front of the pack. The Nationals got out really hot in April, but they've slowed down a tad. They've had some injuries.
Well, the Braves were rolling, but now they've lost 7 in a row. And you know, the Braves all of a sudden have injury problems stacking up. The fascinating thing about Atlanta has been, when Chipper's been healthy, they win. When Chipper's not playing, they lose.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much that simple. He hasn't played in a week. They haven't won in a week. And now they've got Freeman and McCann ailing as well. Swing and a miss, and Nice gets even 2-2.
I'd keep running that fastball right up the ladder. Just you want to swing at it, keep swinging at it. Throw one more, see if he's fishing.
Oh, he hooked him.
I think he's going to go upstairs with a heater here, Ronnie.
Yeah, the problem with going 2-2 hook, if he takes it, going 3-2 fastball up, if he takes it, you got to walk. If you go 2-2 up with a heater and he takes it, then he can throw a strike.
And the curveball on 3-2, and he walks him. So Nice issues his second walk after he'd retired 6 in a row.
Do you see the slowing down the motion, Ronnie, that slow curveball?
Yes, he definitely is.
He's slowing down his motion, and that's Western Union.
Starts out with that little breaking ball, heater up. Curveball again, backhanded by Johnson. This is the pitch right here, this 3-2 pitch in the dirt that you don't understand in a game like this. 0-0, good enough stuff, go after him.
Here's Victorino, and he takes that changeup down for ball 1. Victorino reached on David Wright's error his first time up. Getting cleanup for the first time in his major league career. And now Johnson's going to run it out to the mound after he falls behind on Victorino 2-0.
It's very interesting. The body language of Jonathan Nice has changed since the first inning. He's working a lot slower. I don't know. It's almost like he feels uncomfortable out there, or I don't know if he has the flu bug or whatever. He just is not the same as he was in the first inning.
And now he's behind on Victorino 3-0. Ty Wigginton on deck. Neither team has had a hit thus far. And now 2 out walks back to back to Pence and Victorino put Nice in a mess here in the third. Wigginton walked on 4 pitches his first time up. Justin Turner just came in from shortstop to mutter something to Nice. Pence at second, Victorino at first.
Sorry, Gary, I don't know if it's the heat. This is one of the first few hot days, I think, that Jonathan's pitched in. I don't know.
Maybe it's the mound. He hasn't been here in a while.
Maybe.
Each of John's last 5 starts have come on the road. He hasn't made a start here at Citi Field since April the 26th, more than a month ago. In any event, he's having trouble locating his pitches anywhere near the strike zone right now. And now he misses high to Wigginton. It's 2-0.
Well, this is a dangerous pitch right here. I thought this was a strike. I'm sorry. That is just above the belt. It's got plenty of play right down the middle.
He's thrown 8 straight balls now. And there's one right down the middle. Surprised to see Wigginton taking that pitch. He's usually so aggressive in those counts.
Restrain me.
You're all right. You're all right.
Oh, my gosh.
Do we need a paramedic? There's another fastball for a strike, and Nice going right after him after falling behind. He's now back to 2-2. Two on, 2 out, 2-2 to Wigginton. And the curveball laced toward right center field. That's going to get up the gap and go to the wall. Pence is in. Victorino right behind him. He'll score easily. A 2-run double for Ty Wigginton. The first hit of the game produces 2 runs, and it's 2-0 Philadelphia.
Well, he got ahead 2-0 and took 2 fastballs, and with 2 strikes, tried to pull a backdoor slider and came out over the middle, belt high. And Victorino knows he can score. He's going to kind of get in this Cadillac around here. Watch Victorino, the backhand runner. He makes the turn. He's just kind of got it in 3rd gear. Actually, 4th gear.
His Cadillac is like most people's Maserati.
I wish I had a fifth gear like his. Right?
So after the Met pitching staff held the opposition scoreless for 28 straight innings, that streak comes to an end on Wigginton's 2-run double as the Phillies cash in the pair of 2-out walks by Nice.
No, walks will always hurt you.
It's a lot of pitches early in this game for John. Pitch into the 8th inning his last time out. And Mayberry scorches one toward the middle, and Murphy with a diving grab to end the inning. That saved a run. Murphy flat out to take a base hit away from Mayberry and get Nice through the inning. But a good inning for the Phils. They cash 2 walks, turn them into 2 runs. 2-0 Philadelphia. Great for the tunnel.
Yeah, I don't, certainly I don't know of what it is, but there's some uncomfortability to Jonathan after that first inning. One pitch I saw in particular in the second kind of went whoa, and I don't know what kind of happened after that.
Did you notice Santana trying to trail him down the steps there, just in case he's mad at himself? Yeah. That's the leadership angle right there. We talked about it, Gary, the last series with David Wright and Santana being the clear leaders of this team.
Ike Davis leading off the home third with the Mets down 2-0. Ike went 3 for 8 in the San Diego series, drove in 5 runs, but he grounds this one down to Wigginton, and Hamels has now retired his first 7. 1 out and nobody on. Rob Johnson coming up. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Guys, exciting news after Mets post game today, of course, with the fellas. Beer Money is on the air at SNY. Don Jamieson, Maylene Ramey are the new hosts, and they are having fun with the show, as you can imagine. If you haven't seen the show on SNY, trivia based, you go to places, you interview fans, most of them look foolish. That's the fun part about it. Maylene, let me start with you. How do you come up with the questions? I mean, some are easy and some are not even close to easy.
Well, it's based on difficulty. So the first one's pretty easy. We like to build their confidence, and then we like to break them down. Well, we ask them specifically what their favorite team is.
So you can embarrass them further.
And then we go from there. Absolutely.
Don, here's the question. Okay, so the first question is $10 on Beer Money, and you have a choice if you get it right if you want to risk it. Who is not risking $10? I mean, it cost me $60 to fill my gas tank. Who's not risking 10?
Well, we really make them feel bad if they try to quit after 10, and especially a pretty girl. They're not going to, they're not going to say no if she says, hey, come on, you got to keep going.
Exactly.
So we usually guilt him into going further, but it's crazy. We've given away so much money this year. on beer money. SNY actually has to cut back on Keith's snacks.
That's a problem, especially the Keith burger. How about selecting the all-important contestants? You just go in and you kind of look around and scout out, that guy looks gullible. How do you do it? Be honest.
They actually approach us a lot of the times. They come with their gear on. They're in the corner. They've got the game face on. They're ready to go. But like Don was saying, he's given away a lot of money. I haven't given away that much money. These guys want to win it, and they end up risking it all and losing.
You are a good tennis player. Is there any physical challenges? Like, can you challenge them to a set or anything like that?
I tried to get them to arm wrestle me, but no one's taken me up on the offer so far.
That's a tough one to lose. You guys also, there's a couple tapings at Buffalo Wild Wings locally, right, Don?
Yeah, I'm going to be this Thursday at the one in Brooklyn, and Maylene, you're going to be in Hicksville.
Wednesday in Hicksville. Come out. It's a great spot to watch a game, great food, a really fun atmosphere, and you can see us taping live.
All right, there you go. Don and Maylene, beer money right after the show. Go to Buffalo Wild Wings, do the whole thing. Keith, I think you could spend whatever you want. That's just me. Let's go back to you.
I think we can keep him in Tootsie Pops for a while longer. Nice gets the bunt down. And the play made by Polanco, 5-4 on the sacrifice. I was kind of hoping that Kevin would, throw some trivia questions on Don and Maylene, see how they felt with the shoe on the other foot.
I don't think it would take too much.
Hey, look at Kevin. He's got it made.
Out in the sunshine.
Down there in box seats.
Beautiful day.
We're up here with Al on camera, too.
Don't talk too loud. I think Al's a little sleepy. So the Mets have a runner in scoring position. Rob Johnson with the Mets' first hit moves to second on the knee sacrifice. And now Justin Turner will try and get him in. Turner flied to left his first time up. And Justin lines one the other way for a base hit. Johnson being held up by Tuffle at third as Pence's throw comes out on a hop. Now the throw to first, and they got Turner in a rundown. Galvi's throws. Will Turner make a break? Now Rollins running him back to first. Puts a tag on Turner before Johnson can cross the plate, and Turner is hurt. He went very awkwardly across first base as he was tagged out. So the inning is over. The run doesn't count, and to boot, Turner is hurt.
Oh, I hope it's not anything serious.
He certainly is in a considerable amount of pain as they attend to him. Right before he hit the bag, it looked like he took an awkward step, and then could be the ankle or the knee. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But they continue to attend to Turner, who is tagged out in the rundown to end the inning. We'll head to the fourth, see what's going on with Justin when we come back.
That's not what happened, guys. 3 steps before he got there, he happens is that when he plants his left leg there, you can see something happened to his left leg. He couldn't plant, and then even to add injury to insult here in that last step. Watch that left leg go up, and you can see him yell in pain. Can't land on it because it's sore, and then now twists his ankle against the bag. Just a double bad there for Justin Turner. Awful.
So he was helped off, not able to put any weight on his right leg. So we'll just have to wait and see and not try to further diagnose. But in any event, he's out. Mets have to make 4 changes to compensate. David Wright's second career appearance at shortstop. Vinny Rotino moves from left field to third base. Scott Hariston moves from center field to left field. And Kirk Neuenhuis comes in the game. He will play center and bat leadoff. So the Mets already down 2-0. Now they lose Justin Turner to injury. So they've lost 3 shortstops to injury now. First Tejada, then Cedeno, and now Turner. Freddie Galvis swings and misses at a high fastball, and it's 1-1. Galvis struck out his first time up. David Wright played 1 game in the field as a sub at shortstop last year. This is now his second career appearance at this position. And a good curveball by Nice, and it's 1-2.
Interesting. David, of course, playing 3 or 4 steps in, trying to make sure that he plays a little closer. Wonder if he changed his glove. I don't know if he'd have a shortstop glove.
I agree. I wouldn't think he would.
And the strikeout for Nice is his 6th of the afternoon.
Same pitch, Keith.
Little backdoor slide piece. Look at his fanny flying out. Both times he flew his fanny out.
So now Brian Schneider with 1 out and nobody on. Schneider grounded out to second base his first trip. And Nice leans him back, a ball and a strike. So Nice went down the tunnel after that last half inning. Clearly something bothering him, but he pops right back out to pitch the 4th.
I think he might just be angry at himself for the 2 walks.
Look at that sack bunt down. Back out there looking a lot better.
Cole Hamels waiting on deck. Nice could use a quick inning.
Ooh, up and in.
No, he looks like he's working a little quicker. I don't know. He just seemed preoccupied. I don't know exactly what it is. It's just might be talking about something that's not there, but it was certainly different than the first inning.
Well, he walks the number 8 hitter Schneider, and that's now his 4th walk in 3 1/3 innings, which is not really like Nice. He averages about 3.5 walks per 9. So 1 out and 1 on, a chance for Hamels to lay down a bunt. He has 4 sacrifices this year. 0 for 1 today. Struck out his first time up.
Well, Rotino in very aggressively. Ike's got to hold the runner on, so you want to put the ball down the first base line.
And Nice does exactly what you like to do in a bunting situation, come up and in. The only other time David Wright played shortstop was last year in August against the Braves. That was the game Daniel Murphy got hurt on that slide by Constanza, and David had to move over. Rotino makes the play. 5-4 on the sacrifice, moving Schneider to second.
Well, deadens the ball enough right down the line. If he comes up throwing, he's got him. But Rotino is just new here now. I don't think he's going to be making any aggressive moves defensively.
We've seen Vinny play at first base and in left field. First time we've seen him at third base with the Mets, but he's played a lot on the corners in both the infield and the outfield in his career. Here's Jimmy Rollins, 0 for 2, struck out twice against Nice. Batting here with a runner in scoring position, and he takes it wide. Rollins hitting just 184 with runners in scoring position this season. Not what you expect from the Phillies shortstop. And the curveball hit the center field. Neuenhuis just into the game, moves over to grab it, and that retires the side. A walk in, 1 left. Middle of the 4th at Citi Field. The Mets down 2-0 to the Phils. Up to the minute Mets news as they get ready for Game 2 here at Citi Field on Mets Blog, presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. I'm not sure that that's a traditional Memorial Day look.
They look real dandy.
Well, Cole Hamels has had it all working so far this afternoon. Dastardly curveball there puts Murphy in a 0-2 hole. Murphy flying to center his first time up. Well, Justin Turner leaving the game because of injury in the last inning. It does not go unnoted, though. It was another hit for Turner with a runner in scoring position. And if he's going to be out for a while, that's what he'll leave on. Hit sharply. Galvis knocks it down, makes the recovery, but the throw far too late. And Murphy has an infield hit. Nice effort by Galvis. But Murphy beats it out.
Well, bullet right there knocks it down. So the Mets now, last 3 out of 4 batters have gotten base hits off Hamels, and they've been bullets.
So now a runner aboard for shortstop David Wright. Seems very unusual to say that. David flying to left his first time up. He's now 0 for his last 11. His longest 0 for of the year was an 0 for 12 back in April. And he hits a double play ball right to Galvis. Takes it himself. Touches and throws. 4-4-3 double play. So just like that, 2 out and nobody on. So David now 0 for his last 12, matching his season long. And it brings up Scott Hariston with 2 out and nobody on. So Hamels allowed 3 hits. And yet has faced just 1 over the minimum at this point. Hariston struck out his first time up. There are the overall numbers for Hamels against the Mets. One of those 4 victories came earlier this season at Citizens Bank Park. 1 in 5 lifetime in Flushing.
Well, you see St. Louis jumped out quick on Atlanta. Atlanta's lost 7 in a row. They're down 4-0 in the top of the 3rd. The Cardinals out quick.
Daniel Descalso, a home run off Tim Hudson, who falls behind early again. Braves in danger of their 8th straight loss.
Got to go a little bit further to catch the Cubs, though, Gary.
Well, the Cubs have lost 12 in a row. They start a series with San Diego today. The Padres, interestingly, today activated Carlos Quentin, who's been out all year with a knee injury, and they put him right in the cleanup spot in their lineup. And, you know, Quentin, when he's healthy, can be a huge help to their offense.
He's a guy that's 30+ home runs, 100 RBI guy.
That was their big offseason acquisition, but then he hurt his knee this spring. Lucas Duda hoping for a turn. Hamels, though, with 2 out and nobody on, ahead on Hariston 1-2.
Well, we've seen Hamels for so long, Ronnie, and just to see him come full circle now, he's just really come into his own. He knows how to pitch now. He knows exactly every pitch has a purpose.
Popped up. Wigginton shading his eyes. Galvis over to call him off, and the side retired. We are through 4 on Memorial Day. Hamels and the Phils leading the Mets 2-0. Well, as I told you, Beer Money's back with an all-new episode and all-new hosts. Join Maylene Ramey and Don Jameson as they hit the town armed with some tough sports trivia. See how well your fellow New York sports fans do in an all-new episode of Beer Money today after the postgame, only on SNY. Placido Polanco leads off in the 5th inning with the Phillies up 2-0. Polanco's reached on an error and flied to right 0 for 2. And he smacks one foul. A 2-strike count on Polanco with Pence and Victorino to follow for the Phillies in the 5th. And right now, the way Cole Hamels is throwing, if you're John Neese, you got to be thinking, this is it. I can't give up anything else. Phillies scored 2 runs with 2 outs in the 3rd, couple of walks and a double by Wigginton, and so far Hamels making that look like it's more than enough. One-two to Polanco, and the curveball fouled off. The Phillies are 8th in the league in runs scored, 3rd in on-base percentage. Surprisingly, in the bottom half of the league in home runs. Grounded toward the middle, and shortstop David Wright is there to field it flawlessly. 1 out.
Like brings back memories of Kevin Mitchell at shortstop.
That's right.
How about Howard Johnson at shortstop?
Exactly.
Hojo was the everyday starter when Sid was on the mound. You know, it's interesting you see there, third baseman is usually a quick reactor, one-handed fielder. You don't usually see that with middle infielders.
Hunter Pence takes a strike. Well, the one thing I'd say in this day of defensive shifting is that David has spent enough time at that proximity, pulled over in a shift against a left-hand hitter.
That's a good point.
I think there's been a call down to Port St. Lucie. Hey, Ruben, run around the bases twice, take some BP, and we'll get you on a flight back here.
I'll tell you, the guy who'd perk up his ears right now is Omar Quintanilla.
Yeah, right.
Who's been playing most of the shortstop at Buffalo. He's not on the 40-man roster, which is why he has not gotten a call to this point. But you have to figure if Cedeno can't play tomorrow, Quintanilla is going to be here one way or another. Of course, we always have 25 players on the active major league roster at any given time, and then 15 others who are on the 40-man roster but playing in the minor leagues. And in order to bring up a player who's not on the 40-man roster, you have to purchase that player's contract, and you have to take somebody else off the 40-man roster and pass him through waivers, which means you risk losing that player to another team.
Now, that counts as an option then for that player. Does it not, Gary, if they call him up? Or if they send him back down, it's an option?
Well, it's not an option if you're not on the roster. That's a whole different set of circumstances. If you're on the roster and you have options remaining, you can be optioned. And that sounds convoluted. 7 strikeouts for Neese to get Pence. After a player is signed, after he's had a certain amount of time in the minors, I think it's 3 years.
Right.
You have 3 years in which you can move a player freely back and forth between the major leagues and the minor leagues on the 40-man roster, and those are called options. You can move them as many times within 1 year as you want, and that's one option. So usually players, by the time they reach the middle of their career, they're out of options, and then you have to put them through waivers in order to send them to the minor leagues.
Right. So as a young player, you want to get rid of your options quickly, because if there's always a numbers game, who goes down, it's always going to be the guy with options that's going to get sent down.
Sure, because if you send down the guy without options, then you risk losing him. Three and 0 now to Victorino. .3-0 to Victorino, and it's foul back, so Victorino turned loose on 3-0. He's behind 3-1, and Victorino takes a strike. It's been an odd game for Neese. He certainly has not seemed to be his sharpest, yet he's allowed only 1 hit, and he's already got 7 strikeouts, 1 shy of a career high. Victorino just got a piece to stay alive.
One thing we've seen from Jonathan Neese all year long, whether he is real good or struggles, he gets his strikeouts. He had that one game against Toronto. Gave up 8 runs, 4 home runs, and still had 6 strikeouts in that ball game.
That bullpen is quiet. Neese already over 100 pitches. And he'll have to throw another one to Victorino. AT&T trivia question for this Memorial Day. Which pitcher led the 86 Mets in wins with 18?
I have the answer.
Little too easy. Here's a 3-2.
4 more than Roger McDowell.
And he started out April in the bullpen, as I recall.
And yesterday we found out he's a whiz with words.
That's right.
On the printed page. 9th pitch to Victorino. Slugs it out to left center field. Cutting across Nieuwenhuis. And he gets there at the edge of the track to retire the side. John Neese has a 1-2-3 inning. We are halfway through on Memorial Day. Mets looking for some offense, trailing 2-0. Sitting in the Hudson off the west side. It's a fun place to go. Learn a lot about air and naval vessels. Lucas Duda leads off the home 5th inning. Duda took call 3rd strike his first time up. Look at Cole Hamels' pitch count. This will be his 44th pitch. And he's quickly ahead on Duda 0-2.
You know, one of the best things that's happened for this Mets ball club is number 10. I tell you, great communicator. And, you know, it's come a long way, right? There were a lot of criticism when his first time around that he didn't communicate at all. Well, just the opposite now.
It would appear from that conversation as though Neese, after 5 innings and 105 pitches, is done for the afternoon. And it did not appear as though John was all that on board about that decision. Ramon Ramirez up in the bullpen.
If you're worth your weight, you don't want out of this game. You're losing. Leave me out there.
Well, he clearly wanted to stay in, Jonathan.
Yep.
And I guess the lesson is next outing, you only give up 1 hit. Don't walk 4 guys.
Don't face Cole Hamels.
Well, Neese has thrown as many as 109 pitches in a start this year. It's a pretty warm afternoon, and I'm sure Terry's thinking, you know, I don't need to drain him. Let's get him out of there. get the bullpen in the game. They've been pretty well rested the last few days.
I don't think it's so much draining him. He's a young guy. He's in great shape. It's just, I think it's a pitch count. You know, clearly just simply the pitch count.
Cutter off the plate to Duda, 1-2. Lucas went down looking his first time up. Hamels has struck out 2. Neese has struck out 7. Mets have 3 hits. The Phillies only 1. Just missed 2-2.
Strikeouts are nice, but they're pretty overrated when you look at Hamels right now. With that pitch count, an opportunity to go deep in the ball game.
Three and 2. Well, the word on Justin Turner is he left with a right ankle sprain. X-rays were negative.
Well, I was totally wrong because I made the call. I thought he hurt his left leg before he stepped in the bag. So when those things happen again, I will be quiet next time.
And Duda takes wide ball 4, and Hamels very unhappy with Chris Conroy's calls. Walks Duda after getting ahead 0-2. First walk Hamels is issued today. So the Mets have the leadoff man on for the second straight inning. And Vinny Rotino, the batter. Vinny flying to left his first time up. Began the game in left field. Moved to third base when the Mets had to reshuffle their defense with Turner's injury.
Well, he went after Rotino the first at bat with 2 fastballs to get ahead. And Rotino had a couple good cuts. So I'll be curious to see how he deals with them this time.
Tried to jump on that first pitch fastball and fouled it off. The Braves are now down 5-0 to the Cardinals in the 4th. Rafael Furcal home run. I think I said it was Hudson pitching. It's Tommy Hanson today. Get lit up. 13 of 15 first pitch strikes for Hamels today. Good recipe for success.
Rotino drives one deep toward the left field corner. That ball is out of here. It hit above the orange line. A 2-run homer for Vinny Rotino to tie the game. So Rotino, who hit his first major league home run day before yesterday, now has his second. A bullet 2-run shot to tie the game.
Well, I mentioned the first at bat for Rotino. He went after him with fastballs and he had good cuts. And he did it again. Another fastball. And he just rips it. It's right down the pipe, letter high. This is no doubt. That's out. That's a lightning bolt.
Well, last year that's in play. This year it's a home run with the shortened fence and the orange line demarcating the home run. No doubt about that. And third base umpire Angel Hernandez made the call. And Vinny Rotino at age 32 waited a long time for his first big league home run. Not nearly as long for his second.
The Mets have hit some long balls this homestand.
Well, they had 3 home runs in the game on Saturday against the Padres, including Rotino's shot. And now Hamels has given up his 6th home run of the season. And Davis takes a strike, 2-2. I grounded out his first time.
How often does this work out this way? There's John Neese, where Rotino's not supposed to start. And Neese is going to hit.
Well, apparently the conversation was not what we thought between Collins and Neese, or maybe he said, "You're out unless we tie it." Who the hell knows? And Davis goes around, strike 3. Third strikeout for Cole Hamels. That's the first out. So here's Rob Johnson, who singled over short his first time up.
Very surprised that you got, even though Rotino is 32, really a veteran's age, but really he's a rookie as far as experience. And they're fastball hitters, and Hamels went after him 2 times with fastballs.
Well, Vinny proved in the minors that he knows how to hit home runs. He had a 3 home run game right before he got called up, and now he has translated that into some big league long ball success. That's 6 home runs now in their last 5 games. Well, Rob Johnson continues to produce offensively every time he's in the lineup.
It's just so interesting. You had Torres was going to start in center field today. His wife gave birth, and Bertina wasn't even going to be in the lineup. And what happens? It's like a 2-run shot.
It's like when they have that late time scratch of the starting pitcher, and the other guy goes out there and throws a gem.
One and 2 to Johnson. Well, it has certainly been the case all year for this team that the not ready for primetime players have contributed over and over again. And it's had to be that way with all the frontline players who have been out. Hamels throwing as hard as he has all day.
I think he's a little bit ticked off.
Yes, he is.
He looks very much business now.
Two from Hamels, and Johnson takes low and away in a full count. Well, Hamels hurt himself. Remember, he was ahead 0-2 on Duda to start the inning, and he wound up walking Lucas and then gave up the 2-run homer to Rotino. So both pitchers have been hurt by the walk today.
Well, with Rotino and Johnson and the others, the only positive side to injuries is opportunities.
And Johnson fouls off another fastball. Well, with those opportunities and people taking advantage of them come roster difficulties when your regular guys come back, and those are the dilemmas you like to have. Sometimes they work themselves out. 3-2 to Johnson, and he fouls off a 3rd in a row. So Hamels, who came into this inning having thrown only 42 pitches, has had to work awfully hard here in the 5th. See both teams wearing their special Memorial Day caps today with the camouflage logos. And finally gets him with the changeup. So on the 9th pitch of the at bat, Hamels strikes out Johnson. That's the 4th strikeout for Hamels. And John Neese is going to stay in and hit.
I don't have it in front of me, but I know that he's had games where he's thrown 118, 120 pitches, and that's where he's going now.
Well, what I found fascinating is they had Ramon Ramirez up in the bullpen, but he's sat down now, so Neese grounds out. He'll stay in, apparently, to pitch the 6th inning. Now the Mets have tied the game against Cole Hamels, down 2-0, but Vinny Rotino changed that with one swing. His 2nd big league home run gets the Mets even after 5.
this Memorial Day Monday. Great game here at Citi Field, too, as Mets and Phillies all tied up at 2. We welcome you back. And we saw Vinny Rottino's home run go out of here. It is a new Citi Field home run. Would not have been out last year. And we've seen a few of those on this homestand already for the Mets. And I try to get the perspective now that we're, this point of the season and how heading into June, how these players feel about the dimensions. I talked to Scott Hariston from the hitting perspective, Dylan G from the pitching perspective. And Hariston said, quote, it's a game changer. I can't tell you the confidence that we all feel about it simply because it's fair. And he said, I know I'm a lot more confident simply because when you get into one, you know it's going to go out. And honestly, when you see the result, when you see it go out of here of a home run that should be a home run, it does wonders for you. I think it's been meant a great deal with this team. Meanwhile, for Dylan G, and you're talking about the hitter's perspective, the pitcher's perspective, I should say. He said, honestly, I think it's played fair. I don't think it's affected the pitching staff at all. And it's something as a staff that we all did talk about in spring training, just wondering how it would affect us, wondering if it would be kind of like a bandbox feel. It hasn't been a bandbox feel at all. I've given up a couple of home runs that wouldn't have gone out last year, but they're home runs. I gave it up. I live with that. I think it's played fair, and I think it's certainly helped us more than it's hurt us. He said, I'll tell you the other thing. When I'm not pitching, even just on the bench late in games, we need a big hit. We all kind of feel now that we can get the home run, even though we're not a big home run hitting team. He said years past, I would feel like we needed 5-6 hits just to get a run. So you talk to the players, guys, I think at least mentally it's made a difference.
Here's ball 4 to Ty Wigginton, whose double drove in the only 2 runs for the Phillies today. Well, we've talked a lot about this in the dimensions and what impact they might have on the Mets, pro and con. The one thing that you can't argue is that it has certainly made the hitters relax more in terms of knowing that a well-struck ball is going to leave the park.
Well, that ballpark can be oppressive when it's monstrous like that, and also adding to the oppressiveness is the big high fence that was in the left field line. This was a big ballpark in any generation, any decade.
And I also think the game changer for a fan is that when your team is down by 2 late, a bloop and a blast can get you back into the game. That keeps you here. Not the 5 hits in a row that Dylan G was talking about.
John Mayberry watches it wide, and Nice, after walking Wigginton, is behind 2-0. Ramon Ramirez, Tim Burdack up in the Mets bullpen. So Nice was sent back to the mound after whatever transpired in that conversation with Terry Collins, and he's promptly walked the first hitter and fallen behind the next one 2-0. By the way, Kevin is up there on the Pepsi porch in the midst of the Pepsi porch party with fans who won tickets and were given various promo items courtesy of Pepsi Max, and it seems like a party up there, Kevin.
Unfortunately, there's not a Pepsi pool. It's a little warm, but it feels pretty good. I got to be honest with you. Guys, I had a conversation with Terry Collins about Nice, specifically the use of his curveball today. He's thrown his curveball coming into today 21% of the time. And, I know watching sometimes you feel like, where is that pitch? And Terry said, and do I want him to throw it more? I do want him to throw it more. I think it's one of the great pitches in baseball. Going to the Dodgers organization, we believed in it heavily. Sandy Koufax always taught it to everybody. And I think it is a great pitch to know that he's got it there. He's got to know that he's got that weapon, especially on a day when his fastball isn't sinking the way it could sink. So Terry, love to see him use that curveball more. Of course, last time out was so good with that cutter, didn't really need it.
Didn't need it at all against the Pirates. He's used it a lot today. Throws the fastball for a strike, and it's 3-1 to Mayberry. You haven't made note of the heat up on the Pepsi porch. Fortunately, when we go up there on Wednesday, it'll be a night game. It'll be nice and cool. You guys looking forward to that?
Wednesday night. What's the dress code, Gary?
Polos.
Are we going to wear shorts like we did last year?
Oh, can we?
Mayberry hits one in the air to deep left field, right down the line, and that ball is out of here. Whoa. Mayberry didn't need any new dimensions. He crushes a 2-run homer to put the Phillies back in front 4-2. Just the second home run of the year for John Mayberry Jr., but the third he's hit in his career against John Nice.
And that's going to be the last pitch that John Nice throws this afternoon.
3-1 fastball down middle end. Pitch to hit. Hitters count.
So Mayberry tees off. Neese fails to get it out in the 6th inning. And he'll leave after 115 pitches. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios. Welcome to America's fastest, most consistent, most reliable internet. Welcome to Life on Fios. Five innings plus, strikes out 7, allows just 2 hits, but the 5 walks killed him, and he leaves trailing 4-2 in favor of Ramon Ramirez.
Look at Ramon Ramirez's numbers, and he has in the beginning was that 7th inning guy, and now has turned into a guy that's going to be your long man when your starter falters early.
Freddie Galvis struck out twice as a right-hand batter, now bats lefty for the first time. And Ramirez gets ahead of him 0-2.
Ramirez has become the guy in the bullpen, Ron. He's got the most innings pitched, not the most appearances of any reliever, who gobbles up multiple innings in close games.
Yeah. Or Thursday and Friday in the San Diego series. Galvis bounces one foul. Well, Neese in the 3rd inning walked Pence and Victorino with 2 out, and Ty Wigginton cashed 2 with a double. He walked Wigginton leading off the 6th, and Mayberry hit a 2-run bomb, and that has him behind in the game. And Galvis goes down on the changeup. 3rd time Galvis has been struck out today. 1 out of the 6th.
Well, just a good changeup here from Ramon Ramirez. The same kind of flailing swing, even from the left side, from Galvis.
Galvis earned himself a little sombrero there now. 3 strikeouts.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Brian Schneider, who's grounded out and walked today. So Cole Hamels back out in front after the Mets tied it on Vinny Rotino's home run. Mets put on the shift against Schneider. Murphy had to hustle in from that short right field position to throw him out back in the 2nd inning. Really, it's hard to think of a time when Murph has been burned by playing so deep.
Well, you've got Schneider, who's not going to bunt. He can't run. So you can really accentuate your depth in the outfield, as Murph is doing right now.
But you'd think every once in a while there'd be a ball top that you couldn't charge in for fast enough and you'd get burned on it, but it really hasn't happened.
You know, really, high little Baltimore chop towards second base, where Wright's positioned on the right side of second base. He might have a chance to come in and field it.
Right, and Ike Davis, I think, has to be cognizant of that. If it's slow hit to his right, he's got to go get it also.
David keeps getting pushed further to the right. He may end up at first base by the time the game's over. Of course, if you're just joining us, Justin Turner got hurt on a rundown play and forced the Mets to shuffle the deck defensively and move David Wright over to short for only the second time in his career. Now it's 3-2 to the number 8 hitter Schneider.
Nope. The players are wiping their brows. It's a hot and muggy day here. Great day for a ball game.
Good day to play, right?
It's a great day to come to the park. I love day baseball.
It's summertime now. Swing and a miss, and Ramirez with back-to-back strikeouts. 2 out of the inning. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by with a Fujifilm game break. With those Nats pitchers, not only do they pitch, but now they hit home runs too. Hamels lifts one to left, and over to the line goes Hariston to run it down, and the side retired. So Ramirez comes in to retire 3 in a row, but not before John Mayberry crushes one to left to give the Phillies the lead, his second of the year, and it's 4-2 Philadelphia. Verizon Wireless. Win Mets memorabilia from Verizon at Mets.com/Verizon Sweeps. By Hyundai. New Hyundai owners are talking about their cars in the booth. And by Citi, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. 6th inning, Cole Hamels with a 4-2 lead. Mets will have the top of the batting order coming up. Kirk Neuenhuis will be batting for the first time in the game. Neuenhuis stepped into the game when Justin Turner got hurt. Mets had to change defensively at 4 different positions, and Neuenhuis took over in center field. And Kirk takes a strike from the left-hander. Kirk has not done particularly well against left-handed pitching, but he has been swinging the bat well lately. 7 hits in his last 19 at-bats. And the curveball bounces, a ball and a strike.
Well, it's all about Kurt Neuenhuis. So all we've heard the last 2-3 years about Kurt Neuenhuis is look at Bobby Parnell up in the bullpen with what a great talent he is, but he's got to stay healthy.
Well, he suffered the injury to his left shoulder last year that took away the last 2 months of his season.
he's getting a great opportunity right here and making the most of it.
Arrived the second day of the season after Andres Torres got hurt, and he hasn't left since. He's hitting just 150 against lefties in 40 at bats. And Hamels has him 1-2 and misses with that cutter 2-2. Daniel Murphy on deck, then David Wright. Mets were down 2-0. Vinny Rotino's 2-run homer tied it in the 5th. Now the Mets down 2 again. There's Andres Torres. Maybe he got a couple of moments of sleep. Congratulations to Andres and his wife, proud parents of a new baby girl born this morning. Mia Carolina born to Andres and his lovely wife Soani. 7 pounds 15 ounces, born this morning.
Toward the hole, and Neuenhuis has a base hit.
Taking that fastball the other way, and the Mets have the leadoff man on against Hamels in the 6th. So that's 5 hits now for the Mets against Hamels. And now Murphy, who had an infield single off the glove of Galvis at second base his last time up. And Murphy lifts one to left. Easy for Mayberry. And that's the first out of the inning. Let's take a drive around the majors presented by Nissan. The Cards pounding on Tommy Hanson. Daniel Descalso a 2-run homer. 6-2 Cardinals now in the 5th inning. Jordan Zimmerman with the home run, not Ryan. And the Marlins have just tied up the Nats 3-3 in the 6th. Giancarlo Stanton with his 12th home run. And the Pirates and James McDonald out 4-0 over the Reds. That game's in the 4th. Meanwhile, the Padres have moved on to Chicago. Here's David Wright, who's 0 for 2 and 0 for his last 12, and he takes a strike. Antonio Bastardo just loosening up his arms. The Cubs with a 12-game losing streak, leading the Padres 2-1 in the 2nd. That's a case where both those teams were very much looking forward to face each other. Padres 1-5 on their road trip. The Cubs 12 straight losses. Something has to give. Wright gets under one to center field. And Victorino waiting right there. 2 out.
Just got it away enough on David.
David heaved that bat away. He knew he missed the pitch he could handle. Happens though, right, Keith?
Yep, and he had good cut. Good pitch by the pitcher.
So right now has his longest 0 for of the year and 0 for 13.
Well, we'll take a look here. It's a changeup. It's got a lot of plate and the last minute sink on it. Just got enough to the end of the bat, and David got under it too, and there's David's reaction. But you know what? If that's a good swing, it's a good at bat.
So 2 out. Neuenhuis still at first, and here's Hariston, who struck out and popped up today, 0 for 2. Hariston with 3 career home runs against Hamels in 25 at bats. Mets are facing a lefty starter for the 20th time this year in 49 games. So Hariston has played a lot.
And he drives one deep down the left field line, headed toward the stands. It's out of here! Scott Hariston ties the game with the Mets' second 2-run homer in as many innings. 5th of the year for Hariston, and it's 4-4.
Well, second home run of the homestand for that young man. Hit a low ball his last home run, but this one is where he likes it.
Hit the 3-run shot against Clayton Richard on Saturday. Now the 2-run homer off Hamels gets the Mets even.
this is where his happy area is, right there. He loves that ball upstairs. And that's a bomb.
Mets have hit a couple of bullets against Hamels for these 2 home runs. Rotino and Hariston.
Right on it. Ronnie, sometimes when a pitcher gets the big out like David Wright in the lineup, you have a little bit of a letdown.
You don't feel a letdown, but the concentration level certainly is higher when you're facing the best player for the other team.
Well, the Mets continue to get big production out of their second-tier players on this homestand.
Oh, there's no doubt right there. That is the sweet part of the bat.
Due to badly fooled. Mets hit their second home run of the game. Log on to SNY.TV/Dwayne Reed to print out your coupon for $4 off Zyrtec. Redeemable at any Dwayne Reed location. Duda down on strikes to end the inning. But Scott Hariston gets the Mets even. He ties for the club lead with his 5th home run of the year. A bullet against Hamels. Mets and Phillies tied at 4 after 6. PHI of Washington Heights and Inwood expand their program with the SNY Play Ball Award. Now it's your turn. Help your youth baseball or softball league with a $5,000 grant. Apply for the SNY Play Ball Award presented by Citi at SNY.TV/playball. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. We asked which pitcher led the '86 Mets in wins, and that noted left-hander Bobby Ojeda went 18-5 in 1986. What a trade that was with the Red Sox to pick up Bobby O.
Sure was. You know, you had 2 pitchers come out of that Red Sox organization that were typical same type of pitchers. John Tudor.
Yeah.
And Bobby.
There are your City probables for the rest of this series. Jeremy Hefner makes his second start, hoping for no rain delays. Joe Blanton, who's been pretty good for the Phillies, will go tomorrow night against him. And then Wednesday night, the rhyming couplet of G and Lee. Now, Cole Hamels none too happy at giving up a 2-run lead for the second straight inning. 2-run homer by Vinny Rotino tied the game in the 5th, and now a 2-run shot by Scott Hariston has got the Mets even again.
The Flushing curse for Cole. Bobby Parnell coming into the game's only given up a couple of runs in his last 5 outings. Outstanding mark with the base on balls for Bobby. Nice ERA. 21 more strikeouts than innings pitched.
So John Neese is off the hook now. It's the first appearance for Parnell on this homestand. He hasn't pitched since last Wednesday when he struck out the only batter he faced in Pittsburgh. So he is a well-rested reliever. Top of the batting order for the Phillies. Jimmy Rollins leads off in the 7th in a 4-4 game. Batting left-handed for the first time today. He takes ball 1.
That one batter was his best outing all year. It was Andrew McCutchen in a big spot. Guys on 2nd and 3rd.
And he got him looking. Throwing some serious gas and mixing in that knuckle curve that's become such a big part of his repertoire.
Let's watch Jimmy here in his prime, or I shouldn't say prime, but at his best. 2-0. He'll take this pitch, trying to work to get on base.
At his best, always against the Mets.
Yeah, right.
2 for 5 in his career against Parnell. And a fastball for a strike. 2-1. Placido Polanco, Hunter Pence to follow for the Phillies in the 7th. So John Neese is now off the hook. He went 5 innings plus, allowed 4 runs on only 2 hits. Ramon Ramirez worked a 1-2-3 6th. And Rollins lines a base hit into right. A hanging breaking ball that time from Parnell. And so the Phillies in a tie game have the leadoff man on in the 7th.
That is the first time I've seen Bobby throw that knuckle curve when he's behind in the count that has been hit for a base hit. Usually he gets a automatic strike. They have to take it because they're sitting on that 95-mile-an-hour fastball. But nice adjustment by Jimmy.
That was a hanger. 9 stolen bases for Rollins, only caught once.
Isn't it always that way with the Phillies? They very rarely get caught stealing. Are we cooling down the crowd there?
Better ask permission if that was me.
Exactly.
Polanco takes a strike. Placido Polanco 0 for 3. He's reached on an error, flied out, grounded out. Well, some people ask for it.
That's right. Which is cool.
Watch your step, Archie.
Well, this next pitch is an interesting pitch, I think, because if he's able to get head 0-2, he takes maybe that hit and run out of play for Polanco, who is so adept at that.
Polanco takes it low, ball and a strike. Let's check in with Kevin.
Talked to Bobby about kind of evolving, getting better as a pitcher. And Gary, you mentioned the McCutchen at bat. He said, you know, for me to put the ball down and away at top velocity has been huge, but really spring training was a turning point because I wasn't giving it all I had in terms of, you know, the heater, and I saw results. I started getting ground balls, and then that's when I realized to really work on location. And so I've been able to dial back on the fastball, missing low, as he does there. He said, you know, the thing is for me is I've learned to, if I'm going to miss low, because that allows me to throw my curveball, not be so afraid to throw a curveball if I missed the curveball high. You know, I was getting beat high constantly last year, and so I needed to get lower with my pitches, and sometimes that required dialing it back a little bit.
And he certainly has done that. But he's still got 101 when he needs it. 2-1. And Polanco grounds one back to Parnell with the runner going. Safe at second, out at first. With Rollins in motion, the throw to second is shade late, so it's a 1-6-3 put out erasing Polanco as Rollins is safe at second.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Mets got a break here. That was ball 4 to Polanco. That's just good hustle by Rollins.
To see David, though, what happened is that he dropped the parachute. He had his foot on the bag and decided they were not going to get Rollins at second base, so came off, made the play, proceeded to first base.
He would have been out otherwise. That throw was in time.
Yep.
He just wasn't on the base. So now Rollins at second with the tie-breaking run with one out, and here's Hunter Pence, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. Pence hitting just .210 with runners in scoring position this year. Murphy trying to keep Rollins close to the bag at second. And Pence takes it just off the play. Remember earlier in the game we had Kevin reporting from up in the Pepsi porch, and got all sorts of third base coaches up there. Look at that, they're giving signs.
That's why they keep him out of Washington, those Philly fans.
They haven't tried that here, have they?
No.
In Washington, they made a concerted effort
only selling tickets by zip code so that Philly fans would not infest their ballpark.
That has to be the strangest thing I have ever heard.
Now Parnell behind 2-0 on Pence. Johnson moving outside, and Pence asks for time. Shane Victorino hitting cleanup. Waiting on deck. The Phillies have just 3 hits today. The 2-run double by Wigginton in the 3rd, the 2-run homer by Mayberry in the 6th, and Rollins single here in the 7th. Rollins dancing off the bag as Pence takes a strike. 2-1.
Interesting. Pence, a free swinger, takes a fastball, 2-0 fastball down the pipe. No, he's in serious meditation.
Well, he's going back out there unless.
Just repeat your mantra.
Unless something odd happens. He's got plenty left, you would think. And now Parnell misses high out of the strike zone to fall behind 3-1.
Well, let's see if he takes 3-1, Garrett. Pence hitting only .210 coming into the game with runners in scoring position.
He's never had a hit against Parnell. 0 for 8 against him.
Parnell taking a lot of time in between pitches, Ron.
Think you could be thinking about the knuckle curve 3-1?
And the fastball on the outside corner. Pence thought it was ball 4, but gets called back by Chris Conroy.
Well, that's that fastball, Ronnie, that got the center fielder.
Andrew McCutchen of the Pirates.
Right there. Knees in black, outside corner.
The cut right across the corner of the plate.
Your basic perfect pitch by Parnell.
Yep.
So now Pence back in the batter's box. 98 made Parnell a Cholula flamethrower.
They're wonderful on your omelets.
Now do you come upstairs with the fastball to Pence? 3-2 the count. And he fouls it away at 99 miles an hour. That was even flamier.
Hotter.
Well, this is what we've seen from Parnell. He'll be throwing 93, 94. But when he needs to strike somebody out, he's still got that 99 to 101 in the back pocket. 7th pitch of the at bat coming to Pence. And he walked him. So the Phillies have 2 men on with Victorino coming up. And his 6 walks today by Met pitching.
And a very pesky hitter in Mr. Victorino.
Victorino today has reached on an error, walked and flied out. 0 for 2. He scored a run. Nobody throwing in the Mets bullpen, and certainly nobody throwing in the Phillies bullpen. Hamels at 84 pitches, and his turn of the lineup is not coming up this inning.
Keith, when you call Victorino pesky, it's the same as clutch, isn't he?
Yes, clutch. He's just someone. You know what? When a base hit beats you late in the ball game, you rather have the power hitters up than these guys at line drive hitters. These are 319 hitters that come into this game with men in scoring position.
Phillies have speed aboard with Rollins at second and Pence at first. 1 out in the inning. And Victorino first pitch swinging, fouls off the fastball.
David playing real close to that bag, right, at second base against Victorino.
They're really, well, he's got to hold the runner on, that's for sure.
It's a whole different responsibility for a guy who's not used to playing shortstop.
Yeah, but you know, Victorino against 95, that hole is inviting.
And he hits it in the air to center field. Neuenhuis easing back. And he gets there at the edge of the warning track, tagging at second and moving over as Rollins. Now there are 2 out in the inning. Holding at first is Pence. Neuenhuis just making it look easy out there. Didn't start the game. Came in when Turner got hurt to play center field.
That's Neuenhuis's best position defensively. He's really at home out in center field.
So now Wigginton, whom the Mets have not retired today, 2 walks and a 2-run double. Bats here with 1st and 3rd and 2 out in a tie game in the 7th. Rollins the tie-breaking run at 3rd and Pence at 1st.
There's a big hole between Murphy and Ike Davis at 1st. So I can tell you right now, Gary, when I faced a left-hander and they gave me a hole like Murph and Davis are giving Turner a hole on the right side of that infield, right in here, I'm looking outside part of the plate, just hit that ball right in that hole.
Wigginton looking to pull.
Looking to hit it out.
Yep.
It's a big rip. 97 mile an hour in that cheese.
Ty has 3 home runs for the year. He rarely gets cheated with that swing. And that just missed. 2-1. John Mayberry, who had a home run his last time up, waits on deck. Mets and Phillies playing for the 7th time this year. The first time in Flushing. The Mets won 5 of 6 in those first 2 series in Philadelphia. Now the 2-1, and Wigginton fouls it back. 2-2. Mets have twice come from behind to tie today, and now Parnell trying to keep the Phillies from taking the lead for a 3rd time.
Well, Ty Wigginton is the kind of hitter that wants to hit the ball out of the ballpark, but we saw in his a bat where he drove in 2 runs with 2 strikes. He will go the other way.
Marlins have gone in front of the Nats. 2-2 from Parnell. Off the plate. At 98, it's 3-2. So now Pence will get the automatic start from first. Davis will play behind him.
Well, Davis can push back with the throw. The one positive here, I guess, if there is a positive, he can cover more ground and cover that hole.
3-2 coming to Wigginton. And he lines it into center field, and the Phillies go in front again. Rollins comes in to score on the 2-out RBI hit by Ty Wigginton. The former Met with a 3 RBI afternoon, and now the Phillies are on top 5-4.
Well, just good hitting here. High fastball, Ron, down the middle. Wanted it away. And there's Wigginton. You said it, going for the 3-run home run his first 2 swings. Shortens up here, stays right with it. That's a ball he could have pulled right down the middle. But what's he do? Plays it to the opposite field.
So now John Mayberry comes to bat with 2 out and 2 on. Phillies were up 2-0. Hamels gave up a 2-run homer. They were up 4-2. Hamels gave up a 2-run homer. Now they're up 5-4. Mayberry hit a 2-run bomb his last time up, his 2nd of the year. 1 for 3 on the day, and he takes a big rip there and fouls it off.
Well, he got a ball down the pipe, cutter that didn't cut, and down in the strike zone.
Almost took that into the Acela Club.
Yes.
Not too many hit up there. If you can hit glass, you've done well. A ball and a strike to Mayberry. Remember when they first opened the ballpark in Toronto and they had the Hard Rock Cafe?
That's right.
Carlos Delgado hit one up in there.
Don't they have a hotel rooms in there too in the center field fence?
They do. Kevin did a report from up there when we were in Toronto. 1-1 to Mayberry. And that's a letter high strike. 1-2.
We haven't seen Bobby do yet, guys, is that fastball 98. You haven't seen him use that knuckle curve to bounce it in the dirt. Try to get the right-hander to swing over the top of it.
Now Now the 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Freddie Galvis would be next. It's already been a hard-working inning for Parnell. Leadoff hit to Rollins. He's come around to score. Now 2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to John Mayberry. And he fouls back that fastball.
He just ran back and firing, Ronnie.
You know, we've seen seen Bobby do this in the past, though, and it's not his strength. When the ball is down, like 95% of pitchers in baseball, it has a little bit of life. When it's middle, like most pitchers, straight as an arrow.
Again, the 2-2. And Mayberry takes the breaking ball for strike 3 call. So Parnell went to the knuckle curve to get the strikeout and end the inning. But the Phillies go in front for the 3rd time today on Ty Wigginton's 2-out RBI hit. 7th inning stretch time, 5-4 Phillies. Now in special recognition of the military, USAA presents the singing of God Bless America. Right now, let's send it over to the public address announcer here at Citi Field, Alex Anthony.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise, remove your caps, and direct your attention to the area behind home plate for the singing of God Bless America. Please welcome back once again the USO Liberty Bells as we honor all of the heroic men and women who keep our beautiful nation safe and free.
Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, wide
5-4, and Vinny Rotino, who tied the game with a home run in the 5th, gets his 3rd turn at bat. And Hamels misses high for ball 1.
Well, Hamels has probably learned now I better keep the ball down on Rotino.
He's going to see a steady diet of changeups. That's what he's going to see.
At least he didn't hit him in the back with the first pitch.
That's right.
That's the biggest misstep of Hamels' season so far. John Roush up in the Mets bullpen, sending whatever message he felt he should have sent to Bryce Harper, hitting him in the back, and then saying that he did after the game.
By the way, it really hasn't stopped Harper. He's a pretty good player, isn't he? Jeez.
Homered the last 2 days for the Nats.
He plays hard, boy. He can run. He's got the big future in front of him.
They said his pop's favorite player was Rose. Plays a little bit like him.
1-2 to Rotino. Ground ball. Rollins waits on it. And the overhand throw just in time to get Rotino one away. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Ike Davis. Ike is grounded to first and struck out. Ike's had some nice days against Hamels in the past. Even with his 0 for 2 today, he's 5 for 12 with a home run against Hamels. Rob Johnson, the catcher, on deck. All is quiet in the Phillies bullpen as Hamels still has his pitch count at a very reasonable number in the 7th inning. About to throw his 90th pitch of the day. And Davis pulls off that changeup, and it's 1-1.
He's not going to get that fastball. What you think is going to be a fastball hitter's count. What's he do? Pulls the string on him.
He might throw one fastball in, though. That's how he's been pitching Murphy.
Throw that cutter away, and it's 1-2. Phillies bullpen empty. Mets bullpen, John Roush. And only a thin fence separating the two.
Charlie Manuel affording Cole Hamels the same status as Roy Halladay almost now.
Breaking ball, strike 3 call. So Davis has had the 2nd time he's been struck out today. Changeup.
Perfect pitch right on the corner.
If that hit the corner, that's a pitcher's pitch.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Rob Johnson, who has singled and struck out 1 for 2. Pitcher's spot due up next, and the new Papa, Andres Torres, has come out on deck to pinch hit. And Johnson takes a fastball for a strike. Here's Andres, who got here after the game started today, after being up all last night with his wife as they welcomed their 2nd child into the world. There's a strike, and it's 0-2.
That's 3 straight pitches on the black. Change up outside black to Davis, and 2 fastballs right there to Johnson. Perfect.
Lifted along the right field line, and over comes Pence to call, and that retires the side. So after giving the lead this time, Hamels gets the Mets out 1-2-3, 5-4 after 7. City scenes as we go to the 8th inning. Mets down by a run. John Roush will make his first appearance in 6 days.
You know, it's coming off Parnell with 5 days rest, and this is what happens when you have performances like Santana and R.A. Dickey yesterday. The starting pitchers have been going deep. The relief pitchers have been getting some rest.
Lower third of the order coming up for the Phillies. Freddie Galvis, Brian Schneider, and Cole Hamels due up. Nobody throwing in the Phillies bullpen, so it would appear that Hamels, and why not, will stay around. Galvis 0 for 3, and he hits a little dribbler back to Roush, who bends that 6'11" frame and throws him out. 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin with a Fujifilm game break. Didn't look like he broke anything this time.
That was a bomb.
Jeez.
He's scary. Here's Brian Schneider, and he takes ball 1 from Roush, his former battery mate with the Washington Nationals way back when. Schneider 0 for 2 and a walk, and he takes a strike. 1-1. Hamels is out on deck. Nobody throwing in the Philly bullpen. Hamels at 97 pitches through 7. If they can get the ball straight from Hamels to Papelbon, they'll be thrilled. Lined, and Murphy, playing rover, makes the grab. 2 out. Perfect position.
I was thinking of Stanton, who just hits the ball so hard. I saw one of your old buddies, Keith, said to say hi to you, George Hendricks.
George
said to say hi. So make sure you say hi to Keith. He could hit the ball awfully hard.
Yes, I'll get a chance to see George. The Mets are going to play down in Tampa in a couple weeks.
So here's Hamels, who's 0 for 2 in a sacrifice today.
I actually happen to have my 1982 Cardinal jersey. When they had the first year, the 10-year reunion, whatever, I had everybody sign it. George is the only guy that I don't have, so I got to remember to bring that jersey with me.
Broken bat, and Murphy not tall enough to grab that one, and Hamels has a 2-out hit.
No. Just out of the reach.
Full extension.
Close is only good in what, horseshoes and hand grenades?
Boom. Here's Jimmy Rollins. Rollins 1 for 4. He got the go-ahead rally started for the Phillies in the 7th with a base hit. Came in to score the run that put the Phillies in front.
Big shift. Which means, which might be indicative of Rollins' hitting woes coming into the game in the 220s. And this shows me that he's been pulling way too much, particularly for the left side of the plate, for the Mets to position there right up the middle like that.
Now Roush falls behind him 3-0 with Polanco waiting on deck.
Jimmy will swing 3-0, especially from that left side of the plate.
There's a strike. Rollins has hit only 1 home run this year in over 190 at bats. Well below his norm. And he hits that one sharply, but right at Murphy, down to a knee. And Rollins is out, and so are the Phillies in the top of the 8th. Hamels will head back to the mound. Mets will have 9-1-2 in the order coming up, down by a run.
Members here at Citi Field today, and there are many on hand on this Memorial Day 2012. All branches represented. Memorial Day coinciding with Fleet Week. It's a perfect storm.
There's 3 waves.
Andres Torres pinch hitting, leading off in the bottom of the 8th. Hopefully Torres had at least an hour's sleep after the birth of his daughter this morning, and he lines one over short and celebrates Mia Carolina's birth with a base hit. He's going to try for 2. The throw by Mayberry on a hop. He's safe with a double.
Well, this has been a seesaw game. Neither team quitting. A little bit slow getting the ball in. Mayberry's big and gangly and great hustle by Torres. And this is going to set up a sacrifice situation here for Neuenhuis. Nicely done.
So the Mets have their 7th hit off Hamels in the tying run in scoring position with nobody out. The Phillies will look for the bunt from Neuenhuis, who had a base hit through the hole into left and is only at bat in the 6th. You got Murphy and Wright to follow. And Kirk's set to swing, and he takes a strike. Cutter on the outside corner from Hamels. Jose Contreras, the right-hander, Antonio Bastardo, the left-hander, in the Phillies bullpen, which has been much, much better lately. Mets down a run in the 8th. And this time Neuenhuis asked to bunt, but he fouls it off, and now he's in a 2-strike hole.
Well, I'll be interested to see where Wigginton goes now with 2 strikes. He's got to get back.
Manny Acosta getting ready in case the Mets can't tie it up. Frank Francisco in case they do.
Well, Wigginton's in nowhere's land. It's 2 strikes.
Hamels about to throw his 100th pitch of the day. 0-2 to Neuenhuis. And Kirk fouls one away. We mentioned before he came up for his first at bat of the day in the 6th the struggles he's had against lefties. He was batting just 150 against left-handers coming into the day. Right now the Mets would be satisfied if he could pull the ball and get Torres over to 3rd.
It's something the Mets have been very good at, advancing runners.
Hamels concentrating on that outside part. 1-2.
It's very interesting, wasn't it, that they gave Kirk 1 pitch to hit instead of putting the bunt on, but he never swings at the first pitch.
Unless, of course, he just missed a sign.
So Hamels knows this is a big out right here. He's got to keep that runner anchored on second base. He's just going to think about it and really focus on what he needs to do to get the out.
I think he's got to pop 1 up and in.
That's where Kirk's been vulnerable. Here's the 1-2 to Neuenhuis, and he grounds it to the right side. So Neuenhuis, behind in the count, gets the runner over to 3rd. Nicely done by Neuenhuis, and now Torres stands at 3rd with the tying run.
Knows how to play this game, doesn't he?
Sammy Perlazo's talking it over. Nicely done, Kurt.
So now Murphy. Tying run at 3rd and 1 out. Murph is 1 for 3 today.
Okay.
Torres with outstanding speed. Murphy has gotten that runner in from 3rd with less than 2 out. Only 7 of 16 this year. Phillies have the infield in, trying to choke it off. And Murphy bangs one slowly, runner holding, and Galvis makes the play to 1st. So Torres not going on contact, and probably would have been a dead duck if he had.
Oh, infield in, Gary, you can't do it. And he went right in and went right in on the hands of Murph. Good pitch. Knocked down, Ronnie. Yeah. Felt high. And there's nothing you can do here. He's been dead duck.
So now a decision for Charlie Manuel. You've got the tying run on third, the go-ahead run at the plate. Book says you don't put the go-ahead run on base, but the go-ahead run at the plate right now is David Wright.
I think you might pitch to him, Keith, because Hariston's up next.
I don't want anything to do with David Wright.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
David is 0 for 3 today and 0 for his last 13, his longest 0 for of the season. So we'll see what the Phillies decide to do. Ball got loose on the warning track, and that's the reason for the delay.
Ronnie, question real quick. If you're going to pitch around him and you're going to exert energy pitching around him, is he going to lose something for Hariston, who will probably be his last batter? If you walk him 4 times, then he can refocus on Hariston?
He could, but I think Hamill's going to go right at him.
And he comes up and in to David to start him off. 1-0.
That was a signal pitch. Back him off the plate and try to get him out with changeups. Remember, he flew out to center field on a changeup in his last at bat.
Tying run at third and 2 out. And David swings and misses at the cutter, 1-1.
2 up and inners.
An angry swing by David right there.
Up and in cutters.
David has 2 career home runs against Hamels.
They're going to go after him.
And he comes too far inside, and it's 2-1. You see the numbers for Wright against Hamels. Mets have had a lot of success against Cole Hamels over the year. They've come from behind against him twice today, trying to do it for a 3rd time.
This will be the cutter inside, I bet.
Left it away, but David swings through it, 2-2.
So this tells you a lot right here. He misses with this one,
but he went after him, added about 2 miles an hour from the fastball he's been throwing.
So this intention right here is all inside with David. That's the book.
It's been the coldest stretch of David's season, but he's trying to rustle up a big hit. 2-2. And again, he moves him back, full count.
There's no monkeying around here. No changeup, Ronnie, all heat. Cutters hard, all hard stuff, pounded in.
Going through his mind right now, he's trying to go through the Rolodex of what do I throw here? If I set up enough in to go away with a change.
Schneider wants the changeup. 3-2. Ground ball down to third. Polanco's got it. And he throws out right. And the Mets are stymied in the bottom of the 8th. Leadoff double by Torres, but Hamels keeps him anchored at third. Phillies lead by a run as we go to the 9th.
Motion with no cup of water is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Changes for the Mets as we go to the ninth. Andres Torres stays in the game in center field. Kirk Neuenhuis comes out, so the new pitcher Manny Acosta will hit number 1 in the order.
Here's Manny's numbers for season here. He comes in because the Mets are behind. You saw Frank Francisco up in the bullpen just in case the Mets were able to go ahead. Critical. He puts a 0 up here.
And he's facing 2, 3, and 4 in the Phillies order. Placido Polanco to lead off. He's 0 for 4 today. And Polanco takes up and away for ball 1. Jonathan Papelbon getting ready for a save opportunity in the Phillies bullpen. Where is Jordani Valdespin when you need him?
That's right.
Or Omir Santos. Somebody on the corner 1-1. Who will be the next unlikely hero for the Mets against Papelbon?
Did you see that practice swing?
He does it every time.
What's he doing?
He's being Hunter Pence. 1-2 to Polanco. Costa trying to bounce back from a dreadful appearance on Thursday night against San Diego. Gave up 3 runs and 5 hits in 2 innings of work. And his ERA has just continued to inflate. Here's the 1-2, and Polanco loops one to shallow right. Duda comes on, but he can't get there in time, and Polanco has a soft single. So that's the way the top of the ninth begins, with Polanco reaching. Coming up tonight, Geico Sports Night at 10:30. We'll look around the NL East. The Devils getting ready to face the Kings, and the Celtics and Heat all tonight on Geico Sports Night, 10:30 here on SNY. So here's Hunter Pence, who's walked twice and scored a run, struck out in his other 2 at bats. Pence pulls it through the hole, a base hit. So back-to-back base hits for the Phillies to start the ninth as they bid for some insurance.
Well, we watched his practice swing in the on-deck circle, and now he puts it to good use. High fastball down the pipe. He's pulling away. A little out in front. Let's go with one hand, but he stays level on that high pitch. He's a very unorthodox hitter, Hunter Pence.
So let's see what the Phillies do with Shane Victorino here. The unlikely cleanup hitter is 0 for 3 and a walk today. You've got right-hand batters to follow with Wigginton and Mayberry. So we'll see what Charlie Manuel has in mind here.
Not many times you have a cleanup hitter where a bunt is a good play.
That's ready for it. And Victorino shows bunt and gets it down fair. No, foul. Home plate umpire Chris Conroy slow with the call, but it's a foul ball. Johnson firing to third just in case.
Well, this could have been a double play even with Victor. It would have been with Victorino's speed, despite his speed. I should say that.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered because he never left the box.
Right. That's exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, really. That's a fair ball. It's an easy double play.
Well, you got it.
Run first, ask questions later. 0-1 from Acosta, and Victorino takes the breaking ball high, a ball and a strike.
I don't think I've ever seen a cleanup hitter sacrifice bunting. Have you, Gary?
Yeah, once in a while.
On the major league level?
Yeah, in this kind of circumstance where you have somebody who's not really a cleanup hitter batting fourth. First time in Victorino's career he's batted cleanup. Wasn't even supposed to today. But Carlos Ruiz was a late scratch. Now he's swinging. And a good changeup by Acosta, 1-2. Well, that is Jack Egbert, who was called up a couple of days ago by the Mets. Has yet to pitch in a game for New York, and now getting ready in the bullpen. The Rutherford, New Jersey resident and Rutgers product. One-two from Acosta, and Victorino fouls it back. You have to say that Manny really needs a good outing, and soon. He is treading on awfully thin ice.
I got to believe that he might be looking over his shoulder. Pedro Beato's up in AAA now on the mend, and
Henry Mejia not too far on the horizon. Mets are going to have some bullpen options fairly soon. Now the 1-2, and Victorino foul tips it, held by Johnson for strike 3. So Acosta gets a big strikeout for the first out.
Good job by Acosta, not allowing the bunt to Victorino with some nasty stuff and a great pitch here away.
Let's check in with the studio. WB Mason postgame live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Trivia Answer.
That's right.
2 on and 1 out. Here's Ty Wigginton, who's had the most important offensive role for the Phillies today. He's been on base 4 times, 2 walks, a single, and a double, and he's driven in 3 of the Phillies' 5 runs.
And the Mets continue to pitch him away.
His base hits have come to right center field. Acosta gets ahead of him 2 strikes. Wigginton started the day hitting just 200 with runners in scoring position, but he's had a couple of big hits in RBI spots already today. Now the 0-2, and he just got a piece of that. Looking ahead to the 9th, the Mets will have Hariston, Duda, and Rotino due up. Acosta trying to keep this a 1-run game. Polanco and Pence the base runners with 1 out. And Wigginton floats 1 foul. John Dees started, went 5 innings plus. That's got him off the hook. Bobby Parnell is now pitcher of record on the short side. Gave up the go-ahead run on Wigginton's hit in the 7th.
Now the 0-2, and a high fly ball deep left center. Back goes Hariston to the track, looking up, and it's out of here.
Boy, what a day.
Ty Wigginton with a 3-run homer. He has a 6 RBI afternoon, and the Phillies now have an 8-4 lead. An 0-2 breaking ball, and he hits it out of sight into the old seats. 4th of the year for Wigginton, and the Phillies have broken it open against Acosta in the 9th.
Well, they don't get the bunt down, but a hanging slider here, Keith.
What a day. Wherever he ate last night, go back to that restaurant.
For Manny Acosta, 22 innings, 6 home runs allowed. And his year just keeps on getting worse and worse. Career high 6 RBIs for Ty Wigginton. And now the Phillies with a 4-run lead. Here's John Mayberry, who hit a 2-run homer back in the 6th. And Acosta, in frustration, overthrows one. So Ty coming back to Flushing, where his career began, and having himself a career day.
I'll say. We dream of that kind of days.
Single, double, 3-run homer. 1-1 to Mayberry, so that takes away the save situation for Papelbon.
Charlie can sit him down now if he wants to give him a rest. I don't know if he will.
2-1 to Mayberry. Well, for the moment, Papelbon is still on call. Jack Egbert may be in the game momentarily. 2 singles and a 3-run homer given up by Acosta here in the 9th. And it's lined over short, and another base hit.
Wow.
They're just taking liberties with his breaking stuff.
4th hit of the inning against Acosta, and that's going to be all for Manny. And Jack Egbert will come in to make his Mets debut. So the Phillies have added 3 here in the 9th on Wigginton's home run. Egbert will come on. 8-4 Philadelphia in the 9th.
Well, he was 2-3 in Buffalo in 17 games, and 1 game started. Staten Island, Rutherford, New Jersey, Rutgers University.
Freddie Galvis, first man he'll face. Phillies have 3 home in the 9th. Mayberry at first and 1 out. Galvis 0 for 4 on the day. 3 strikeouts and a comebacker. And Egbert pours 1 in for a strike.
Funky delivery there, RJ.
Yeah, sinker slider, a guy that throws right across his body.
With Egbert, who was born in Staten Island. It's a rare time in their history as Galvis lines one to Murphy and he drops it, but after the catch was made, so the out is recorded. So that's the second out of the inning. So with Egbert and Mike Baxter, for a rare time in their history, the Mets have 2 players on their roster who were both born in New York City. Don't see that very often.
That's right.
Jack grew up in Rutherford, New Jersey, went to Rutherford High and on to Rutgers.
There's Damian Easley when you need him, right? Cover the Bronx.
Here's Brian Schneider, 0 for 3 and a walk. The only other Met who was born in Staten Island was Larry Bernarth.
Oh, okay.
Pitcher back in the early days with the Mets who went to St. John's.
He's also the pitching coach for the Montreal Expos for a long time.
Good one.
And in Colorado. Fouled away, and it's 1-1 to Schneider. Egbert said he roomed at Rutgers with Todd Frazier's older brother, Jeff. He said, we don't have a lot of Rutgers guys sticking in the big leagues. He said he thinks Todd Frazier will be around for a while. So I'll hit that home run for the Reds. 2 home runs in a game against the Mets.
Did you see the home run hit last night? He hits it over the left field wall in Cincinnati. As he's swinging he lets go of the bat.
Hand coming off the bat.
And the bat flies into the infield and the ball goes out of the ballpark.
At Cincinnati, there were 9 home runs hit there last night. With the runner going, Schneider fouls it off. Mayberry going diving into second. Yeah, as the weather has warmed up in Cincinnati, the ballpark has gotten even smaller. It's like shrink wrap now.
Same in Chicago. There's Pap, Jonathan Papelbon. 96 degrees in Chicago. Balls flying out there for the White Sox. 11 home runs in the last 4 games.
Including Konerko hit his 400th last night. Here's the 2-2 and a pop-up. Murphy is out there and called off by Torres, and that retires the side. But the Phillies expand on their lead in the top of the ninth. Egbert gets his first 2 men as a Met. Manny Acosta not as fortunate. Ty Wigginton with a career day, and it's 8-4 Phillies. Joe Blanton goes for the Phils. 6:30 the coverage tomorrow night. Mets and Phillies right here on SNY. Non-save situation for Jonathan Papelbon in the last tonight.
Well, he hasn't pitched in 3 days, and he's been perfect in save opportunity to start the season. The only time he's ever been better was with the Red Sox when he converted his first 20 in 2006.
Last time the Mets saw him in early May, he had retired 20 batters in a row before Jordani Valdespin and company put that to rest. Scott Hariston will lead off for the Mets in the last of the ninth. Hariston has a 2-run homer today, his 5th of the year. Hariston's 5 home runs now tie him for the club lead with Wright and Duda and Davis. Of course, Hariston doesn't play nearly as much as those other 3. Just 89 at bats for Scott this year for those 5 home runs. Hariston, Duda, and Rotino up for the Mets in the last of the ninth. The Mets got 6 games over 500 with their win yesterday over the Padres. Their high water mark for the year. And now the Phillies 3 outs away from knocking them down a peg. Cole Hamels went 8 innings, allowed 4 runs, 7 hits, a walk, 6 strikeouts, 2 home runs, and Hamels in line for his 8th consecutive win. Lost his first outing of the year against the Marlins. And in 9 starts since, he will be 8-0 unless the Mets can rally here in the ninth. If you had to pick a candidate to start the All-Star game right now, pitcher, it's hard to call. Isn't it?
Yeah, in the National League?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you got Gio Gonzalez, Brandon Beachy, Capuano,
R.A.
Dickey, Hamels. It's a great list right now. 2-2 now to Harris.
There'll be a separation in June. Some will have the June swoon. It always happens.
If I had to pick right now, it'd be Hamels.
I think Dickey would be a great story.
That would be fabulous, wouldn't it?
Right?
Even better if he starts next year when the game's here.
That's right.
Hariston floats one foul. The Marlins have won. They beat Washington 5-3. Jordan Zimmerman hit a home run but lost the game. Carlos Zambrano got his third win. So unless the Mets rally, the Marlins will retie them in the standings in the National League East. Mets started the day in second place, 2.5 behind Washington and 1 ahead of Miami. It's about to call them Florida again. It's going to take a few years.
It's all right.
Here's the 2-2, and Hariston hanging in there.
Get flying fish in the outfield. Could afford to make a mistake once in a while.
Problem is with those the home run sculpture and everything else, Stan's going to break all of it before the year's over.
He'll knock it down.
Red Grooms will have to go build another one. Seventh pitch of the at bat coming from Papelbon to Hariston. And there'll be another. Meanwhile, the wind must be blowing out at Wrigley. Two teams that can't score, the Cubs and the Padres. 6-6 in the sixth. 6 home runs in that game already.
Wow.
2 for Chase Headley.
Yahtzee. Almost.
Again, the 2-2 from Papelbon, and Hariston watches wide. What an at bat here for Scott, leading off in the bottom of the ninth.
Well, make Papelbon throw a few pitches, right?
It could have an effect on tomorrow and the next day. This will be the 9th pitch of the at bat to Hariston. And he fouls one at the plate. He's still there. We mentioned that the Phillies bullpen has been performing better lately. Last 9 games, 2.54 ERA. They have really revamped that bullpen. They now have 4 lefties among their 7 relievers, which is fairly unusual. And Hariston fouls another one back. This could take all afternoon. This is, of course, always the danger when you bring your pitcher into a non-save situation. You might have to throw so many pitches you might lose him for a potential save the next day. Just this at bat, 10 pitches deep and not over yet. And Hariston lines one over short, and over goes Rollins to grab it. Well, Papelbon wins the battle, but that was quite a tussle by Scott Hariston.
Well, he just stayed inside. Great at bat by Hariston. Really fought hard, but hang with him.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Lucas Duda, who's 0 for 2 and a walk today. Mets had a pair of 2-run homers off Cole Hamels. Rotino in the 5th, Hariston in the 6th. But that's been it. Meanwhile, Met pitchers, after a spotless few days, had to go the other way today. He's kept them off the board for the first 2 innings, running the scoreless string to 28. But in 9 innings today, Met pitchers threw 195 pitches. It's a bad sign. Papelbon behind on Duda 2-0.
Well, the 6 walks on the day, 5 issued by Nice. That always spells trouble. And you throw in the 9 Philly hits. It's a lot of base runners running.
Yep. Well, Nice only gave up 2 hits, but that was enough to cost him 4 runs. And now it's 3-0. Well, the Mets not losing any of their vaunted patience here, down by 4 runs in the 9th inning, not giving away at bats. And that's forcing Charlie Manuel to watch Papelbon work hard here in the 9th. The Phillies were all set to re-sign Ryan Madson as their closer, but that didn't quite work out. Madson went to the Reds. Phillies signed Papelbon. Madson hurt his elbow, out for the year. Papelbon pitching brilliantly, except to Valdespin. There's a strike 3-2. He hasn't blown a save opportunity this year. That home run by Valdespin came in a tie game. Second straight full count for Papelbon. And Duda fouls it off, and now he can sit about wrecking Papelbon's pitch count.
I don't think the Mets hitters, for the most part, take any other kind of a bat than these bats they take. Doesn't matter who's out there.
And that's a great tribute to this team. The fact that they're able to keep their approach even when they're down in a situation like this. Hit toward the right side, and Galvis moves over to play it, and that's the second out. I mean, Keith, you and I were noting the last couple of days with the Padres. You know, yesterday, Jesus Guzman down 2-0 in the 9th, up to lead off, swings at the first pitch.
They did it more than a few times, right. The Padres over there when they were down, just free swinging. So, you know, it's the difference between a team that's turned the corner and on the rise and a team that's really mired in last place. You know, stands out.
Well, it's the kind of thing that pays off down the road.
Discipline.
Yeah. If you're not disciplined for not taking the pitch, how would you know? There's a lot of assumption that guys know how to play the game, you know, in 9th inning like that, the way you're supposed to play it. Sometimes they don't. You sit down for one game, you'll never do it again. And we've seen in the last week or so, a couple of weeks, the only problem the Mets have faced is when, I mean, they're facing elite pitchers, but the elite pitchers that really throw strikes from the second they get out there, and at some point you have to abandon trying to work the count because they just throw too many strikes.
Oh, look at what they did in the first inning yesterday against a pretty good pitcher, Edison Volquez. They waited him out enough to get a couple of men on, get the only run they would need. Yeah. Voila.
I thought their second game of the series when they beat Anthony Bass, but I don't know if you saw him. He's got good stuff, that kid. And that was really, Mets had 8 hits in that game, and they did everything right offensively. They just hit line drives, got the runners over, were selective, laid off his hard slider that was out of the strike zone. It was really nice to watch.
That wasn't as nice to watch, by the way. Did you see that?
What?
Did you see our man? Come on, Webby. Show us that shot again.
Well, sometimes when, you know, you don't have anything else to do, and, you know, Chase is just sitting around these days, he's got to have some fun.
Oh, goodness.
I think that's Pete Orr.
Oh, it is? Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sunglasses full.
Canadian.
Oh, well, that tells the whole story right there. Sitting next to Chase. 1-2 to Vinny Rotino. And the breaking ball got him, and the ball game is over. So Papelbon finishes it off in the 9th as the Phillies take the lead 3 separate times, put it away on the 3-run homer by Wigginton in the 9th. Big day for Ty, a career-high 6 RBIs as Hamels beats the Mets for the second time this year.
Well, the pitching was not good today. Neese only gave up 2 hits, but 5 walks, hurt him, and a home run, and then down the line, Parnell with the loss and add-on runs against Acosta.
Well, you know, the Mets, the two swings of the bat accounted for the 4 runs, the home run of Hariston and Rotino. Otherwise, Phillies just kept pounding away, put the Mets to bed.
There's your Hyundai game summary. Cole Hamels wins his 8th straight decision. Wigginton with the big offensive day. We'll be back with more in a moment.